I just want to say to the Globers, you are living in La La Land.
Speaking of La La Land, Jake,
Jake,
you said we're going to see something smash into the moon. What's going on?
There's the
yeah, that never happened. Oops.
that missing top frame is right in
Those
the middle of
two
the sequence.
guys are in SC. I'm SC Montreal.
You can see the dot there in the middle. In the middle of the dot sequence, you can see a low contrast dot in there.
What's going on, man? It was in SE first.
Well,
yeah, he can't
Yeah, I
talk.
want to talk about Israel and Palestine.
I want to get back into address Witsit's cite it.
The reason I had to say that about hold on real quick. The reason I had to say that about the about what to Jake is because like the last few days, Jake, you were like saying like, what are you guys like? Is this going to change your whole worldview if you see this thing hit into the moon and it's going to prove the Earth is a physical rock? And anyways, that's why I mentioned you, Jake. I was thinking about you because you were thinking this was going to be like the final experiment that the moon is a rock, and it was a big nothing.
It's been 15 minutes since.
Yeah, he was pushing that one hard. Okay, guys, I'm gonna only take 5 seconds, right? You were talking about glitches and stuff on video and CGI. Well, I have a good one. 1 past the hour. I mean, that's clear cut. No, what do you guys think?
Well, before we shift to one, should we? Okay, so we can do that one next. But can we? I mean, I am showing this on the screen share as well. So
it's actually 4:30, by the way. So it starts at like 4:30, and I just watched it again. There's one part of it when he grabs the bag where the red dot goes in and out.
Yep.
Oh, it's just compressing and just changing its mind and getting confused back and forth over and over.
Yeah, it is.
Compression
doesn't. So compression doesn't look at the image and say, "Oh, there's a bag here."
Who was next after SC?
I think we're just doing it more open.
Red Cloud was next, then Elbow. Red Cloud, Elbow.
These guys are kind of
Red Cloud,
debating
Elbow,
this.
and then I'll go.
Well,
yeah, well, you gotta either make it the debate or make it a list, because if it's an open panel and there's always like 6 people trying to get in, it's gonna just.
Well, Witsit jumped in.
Yeah, but let's address after the picture that I said, right? Let's
clarify,
not just.
I only jumped in to let him know what the accurate time was, because I told him the time after the bag was off the screen, right? So if he's streaming it, I wanted him to know.
Red Cloud, your turn.
Well,
we're just going to bypass what I said. I mean,
no, we're going to come back.
You're already looking at one video, SC. Let's not like distract with another one.
SC, can we just go to yours next? Can we go to yours next?
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, I thought you were done with that. Okay, my bad.
Well, so Elbow's turn. Elbow, then thank you.
I'm showing this one on the screen share, so and then Pafinki had his points, and with this red dot thing, to me, because I was saying before, like, okay, there could be real footage that has actual artifacts, or it could be fake footage, and the artifacts are the indication that it's fake. That's why this is such an important distinction. And I mean, depending on how deep you guys want to go on this with this red, I see the red dot thing here. Yeah, and it does look like a tracking. It does not look like a compression artifact to me. So, Pafinki, what's your point on this? Or can we? Or
before you go to that, because I was next, actually, Gio. It says a temporal compression artifact would not show up as a crisp, isolated red dot on a floating object. Standard temporal compression issues manifest as macro blocks, ghosting, mosquito noise, edge shimmering, or general frame-to-frame flickering, rather than a distinct point of solid color.
Well, now ask it if a dot on the center of a spinning bag might disappear due to temporal compression.
Yeah,
this is what
it's not the presence of the dot; it's the disappearance.
This is what cracks me up. Is like you guys are saying it doesn't look like compression to me, and yet you guys don't know what sort of artifacts arise from temporal compression.
Oh no, basically
you're going to gaslight. Witsit's going to gaslight me right now. Witsit's going to gaslight me. Pretend like you know what it would be.
Dude, someone said it was compression before they'd ever even seen the video.
Is the red dot actually on the bag, or is it not on the bag?
It is on the bag. It's
okay,
on the
so
bag.
The red dot should be there. It's the disappearance that's their problem, right?
There's also a label. There's a label on the other side, and when he rotates it, the label. Hold on. When he rotates it, the label also disappears.
Yeah,
even when the bag is being held and just sitting there, not spinning, it's disappearing and appearing.
Yes, that's not. And
okay, so it's not about it being in motion now. So we've moved the goalpost now. The bag doesn't need to be in motion. If the bag's just sitting there still, it'll just disappear and appear just sitting there. Okay.
I mean, it is in motion.
No, it's not. He's just holding it.
The whole scene is in motion.
Oh, now there's not a static background, and now the whole scene's in motion. So anything
you gotta think more scene, like.
Do you guys not understand?
You gotta think more like in pixel location. You gotta think more like in pixel location.
Do you guys understand that what
Right.
you're effectively doing is making your belief system unfalsifiable? Anything can disappear from the footage and it's perfectly legitimate. There's no reason for any suspicion at all. It's completely expected. In 2026, when they're making
Well, no,
videos of them
wait,
going
I
to
think
the
it's a fair
moon,
point.
we expect to see objects just randomly disappearing. We expect to see things that perfectly resemble tracking spots disappear and appear. And you guys are insane and it's
Well,
pareidolia to even
no,
suggest that there's going to be something suspicious
no,
happening.
I don't think you're
It's
crazy. I don't
ridiculous.
think you're crazy. I think this is what I think. Number one, the tracking dot, it's not a dot, it's a square. When you actually get a clear frame of it, it's a square, not a dot. But the second thing is, if you're looking at a video and you're trying to figure out, is something weird here? The first thing you should do is just say, okay, was this video compressed? Yes. Okay. If it's compressed, then you should expect that there are going to be compression artifacts that are going to show up. So when you see something, you're like, oh, that looks weird. Your first step would say, could this reasonably be explained as something that's a compression artifact? And if the answer is yes, then you say, well, that's probably a more reasonable explanation than like all of space is fake and that they're using a dot to try to track this thing and then spinning it in the air like idiots, you know, so that the dot won't track.
Wait, what? If you were going to fake, first of all, let's actually recharacterize that properly, right? This is the first time they've claimed to do this in a super long time. So what we have, we go back 60 years, and we have a couple examples of them trying to do something like this. So what, like, of course they're going to try to do stuff like float
But you missed
objects.
the whole point. The point is look at the most reasonable, simplest explanation.
When you say all of space is fake, like if space is fake, there's no all of space, right? It's just fake. So don't say like, oh, it's so crazy to claim all of space is fake. Like anyone said that portions of space are fake. Like what?
It's funny how both of you guys actually, both of you guys missed the point. Both of you guys missed the actual point.
Again, Joe?
I didn't miss the point. I can still man your point.
Steel man it. Let's hear it.
Okay, why don't you just examine the most plausible explanation and which would be the most likely to happen? And in your subjective opinion, it's less plausible that there would be like an orchestration of fakery when it comes to this mission of space, as opposed to just something as simple as a compression artifact. Because we looked up the fact that, of course, there was compression present, and these are the type of things that we know would come from compression.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
I know. You're acting like I missed the point. The point's so elementary.
Well, you chose to focus on the other part of it.
No, I was rebutting you.
I don't think he meant to say that you missed the point. It's just you didn't address the point.
I did address the point though when he made the point about.
Did you though?
Yes, because he made the point of like, or they're just doing this big orchestration and just stupidly flipping things around. It's like, what? Yeah, they barely even tried to fake it in 60 years. If they're going to claim that they're doing it, they're going to have to do stuff that supposedly shows they're in space. So it's actually you guys that are incapable of still manning the other side and looking at it in good faith. In the scenario that this was being faked, of course they would do things like float objects. If they didn't, they wouldn't even be close to convincing people they were anywhere.
But if you floated an object with a tracking dot on it, you would think, I don't know, you'd think they'd say, don't flip the dot around because then you won't.
Well, this is what I agree.
This
This is what's interesting about it, though, right? Like, if you're honest about it, if they are broadcasting something live, then it gets tricky, right? Like, if you're imagine trying to actually layer VR objects and broadcast it live. So
why
then,
would they
like, obviously,
broadcast it live?
because it creates a layer of ostensible.
Trying not to bring up TFE, but do you hear like how obvious the argument is for me? You're saying
It creates a layer of ostensible authenticity.
It's like if somebody.
If you're gonna fake,
let me make another case.
Why on earth would you ever use live footage? You just pre-record.
I just addressed it. I just answered.
Yeah, but there's no reason to ever do
I
that.
just gave you a reason.
Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say I'm evaluating your guys' Antarctica TFE footage.
Yeah, dude, I might have to
going around. Hold on, I'm gonna let you go. I'm teeing you up. I'm setting you up for a slam dunk. You up.
Of course, because
the camera's panning around.
As
the camera's panning around, it's not gonna be long. As the camera's panning around, I see a little flicker of light. Right now, somebody might look at that and say that's evidence of fakery, but more reasonable would be to look at that and say, are there just normal camera optics things that explain this perfectly? Yes. Oh, there are. Okay. right? That's what a reasonable person
take
does.
contention with the perfectly. You just always, if anything, you guys do yourself such a huge disservice by overstating your position.
Fine,
And
fine.
then
Point taken. Point taken. Touche.
and understating the alternative position. It's completely reasonable to be like, this is super suspect. And of course, it's only our side that would ever even notice the dot missing in the first place. And then to even go, which just speaks for itself, it's the same with the video. You guys ran around claiming it was proof of the 24-hour sun. We're the ones that found out they faked it. We're the ones that find out all of the faker. You guys never will because you don't look at things critically and you overstate your side of it. And it's just, it honestly does you guys a huge disservice, but it's whatever. To each their own.
Now we get to listen. Now we get to listen to QOP. Now we get to listen to QOP do the same thing to you, and then you're gonna flip and argue that.
Bro, I might just clip him saying that, like, and then put that over like a one of their live stream.
But
yeah, because
I don't, and then I won't care like I haven't for the last 2 years. So.
Bro, do you know how many? Like, remember when you said my videos were just gonna get like 30 views? There's like thousands of. There's like Banjo restreamed, which got like 10,000.
Oh my god!
Restreamed.
Oh my god!
There's thousands of views of your lies, bro.
Okay, sounds good.
The trouble with this,
I'll never recover.
Yeah, we're having a conversation in good faith, so let's not. That includes not in personally attacking.
It's extremely ironic.
Of course, and this is what actually happened, right? I brought up the fact that they were talking about an object supposedly hitting the moon. It didn't happen. What happens? The guy desperately brings up Antarctica, and then what happens? People like QL come in here and help them out, help them get away from what their supposed claims are. Then the guy makes false claims about me talking about space footage. I give an example. Immediately they get bailed out with Antarctica again. It's been 2 years. You've made 57 videos of it. We've talked about it 27 times. Let it go. How have you not made your point yet? If you haven't made your point convincingly yet, then your point sucks.
Witsit, tell him how what he's saying is you faking the footage is just normal camera artifact.
No, because dude, this is what I was saying. This is what I was saying before. The most important thing is that in footage, some artifacts are actually just artifacts, even though the footage is real. Meaning it's real. You took it with your own camera. It's absolutely real. Like QOP, if you took a trip to China or something and you filmed it and you did all that, I bet there's people who could rip it apart and say, "Oh my God, look at this thing, that thing." He faked it.
There was a repeating cloud in the footage.
Let me finish. I'm not finished. Let me finish. Then you can respond. I'm just saying, if you went to China or you went to Fiji or somewhere and you were filming yourself and all that stuff, and people came back, they would be able to say things. Now, on the other hand, there could be actual footage that is fake, like the moon landing, all kinds of stuff that is absolutely fake, that the artifacts or issues in that are beyond just an artifact from a camera and are on a whole nother level, which actually does indicate that it is completely fabricated, like stuff with the moon landing and so on. So I'm just saying that's the distinction here. Somebody, and just lastly, in someone's analysis of any of these things, they could be completely right that it is fake and the artifact is fake, or they could be completely wrong and the artifact does not show the fakery. That's what's key, is getting to what the actual truth is. Go ahead.
I mean, but the thing is, like, there's no term for a repeating cloud at the same point in the sky in a 24-hour footage. Like, there's no term for that.
All right, do you want me to tell you what I think that is? Here's what I think it is. I think the camera is doing its 24-hour cycle, and it's going to be at almost the same position, but just slightly different 24 hours later, because it's on the same ground and all that. And unless somebody bumped it, like, it should be pretty much the same position 24 hours later. So I think that's just a lens flare that 24 hours later.
Did you watch you must not have watched my video though.
Yeah, I did. I absolutely have seen him. And
you've
brought that one. Hold on, let me finish, dude. You've brought that one up in here. I actually have it saved in my folder because we looked at it, we zoomed in, and I showed how they're not the same pixels. So I've already shown that to you a long, long time ago, and you keep saying it's the same one, and it's not.
Yeah, so to me,
it's just a repeating lens flare 24 hours later. They're slightly different, and to me, that's nowhere near the level of issues we found with the moon landing, with the ISS footage, with all this space stuff. That's not even in the same category, in my viewpoint. So that's why I don't think that evidence you're claiming is not strong and just looks like a regular lens flare.
I mean, so you saying it's not the same pixels doesn't matter, right? So the sky of the end portion is a little bit like it's a little bit brighter, so they're different hues. But so there's effects or a brightening, whether it be natural or not, that's changing that layer and basically causing it to look different, and it's not exactly. But as far as like that's not even my argument. They're the exact same pixels. I literally show there's a square cropped square around each of these, whatever you want to call them, lens flares or clouds. So this thing repeats at the same point, and there's literally a square. Like when you use Paint or Photoshop, and you just take the square crop out tool, and when you crop out like a something, you get the background of wherever it is, and where you put it somewhere else, you're gonna get, if it doesn't match up enough, you're gonna see the hue difference, and that's what I show in my video.
For sure, you're Sherlock Holmesing it, man. It's crazy, bro. You got us.
I'm Sherlock Holmes. That's
Like,
literally the things in
I'll
the.
be honest. I'll be honest.
Okay, in the other
Hey,
24
shut
hours
up, dude.
videos,
You've been talking about it for 2 years.
You
okay.
just don't interrupt,
But
bro. You said
would you agree that in the other videos, 24 Hour Sun,
What,
that
like,
you're
why do you?
admitting are fake?
Hey,
It
I
was
was there.
repeating clouds and lens flares that
I was there. No, I'm trying to respond to it. The reality is, I have not even watched, like, intently watched the full duration of any of the footage, and I never will, because I was literally there. And I don't care if people think I wasn't there. I don't blame people for looking at it. I don't blame people for being skeptical. I don't care. What I did was get on a plane. I went there. I immediately made sure that we set up a camera that put a solar filter on it so I could see if there were sunspots. I then compared the sunspots. I then went out there and just saw it do a circle around my head. I went there for myself to know what was there. I don't care what QOP thinks. I'm not coming in Earth Awakenings for 2 years straight having the same conversation with him, though. I'm definitely not doing that because it's stupid to me. And, like, I don't care if someone thinks that sounds like dismissive or disrespectful. Put yourself in my shoes, honestly. Let's just say
we feel very bad
hypothetically,
for
I
you. Like,
actually
I'm
went
not even
there.
the one that
Just
brought it
say
up. You guys
hypothetically.
you
Just
guys
say
kept bringing up good
hypothetically.
things.
That's
Let him
not
finish,
true. You
bro.
did bring it up. Let's just say hypothetically that I actually did go there. That I haven't lied about a single thing. That I
You
sat
say
here and
this
talked.
every single. You
Stop
say this every
interrupt.
time,
Yes,
dude.
but you never answered a single time.
Your hypothetical of how I would relate to you if you went there, like, yeah, I'd be so sad but there would be no way for there to be a
So
repeating
sad.
cloud
You'd
with
be
a fucking
so
square
sad.
crop out
See,
line
you
around it.
can't even
All right,
answer
could
it.
you
This is
just
my
let him
point.
finish? Just let him finish, dude, and then go, please. Just
Like,
let Witsit.
this is the reason I stopped talking to QOP, is because he literally
We're
cannot
literally
answer
talking
this
right
question.
now.
He literally cannot answer this question.
You
It's
should
just
stop
like when
talking
I
to me.
ask a Glober. I'm talking about actually talking about the specifics of your whole belief that it's fake. Just like whenever I talk to a Glober, I ask them a hypothetical preface, they short circuit, and before they even get through answering the question in good faith, they start to slam flat earth with an alleged disproof of flat earth. They literally can't physically bring themselves to have a good faith response to a hypothetical preface. Therefore, it is a useless conversation. We are not even in the same realm of intellectual honesty. If you can't even intellectually respond to something in good faith, then this conversation is bad faith, which means it can't be productive.
We're talking about Aries
Yeah.
failure again.
So hold on. All right. So that was okay. Witsit. When you got interrupted before? What was the completion of what you were saying? Do you
I was
remember?
just explaining that, like if you put yourself in my shoes, just imagine hypothetically that I actually just went there. I actually just saw what I said. I haven't lied about anything. I came back when it was close to Christmas. I haven't seen my family in like 2 weeks. And then immediately I spent hours and hours on here answering everybody's questions repeatedly.
It's like what black women do. They
Stop
play the
fucking
victim role.
interrupting me, dude.
So triggered.
It's so pathetic.
That's fine. I
You
temporarily
have such a
muted him.
slam dunk this debunk of me. You have to interrupt me. I platform the people that claim they've proven I faked it. I literally platformed them on my channel repeatedly. Brought in a moderator to let them debate me about it for hours. Gave them my platform to show everything they could come up with. Came in here and sat through multiple presentations for hours and hours. Answered every question repeatedly. Right? I did all of that. And now when I come back in here, when it's been like 2 years, like a year and a half, you can understand why I wouldn't want to keep talking about it, right? And what really pisses me off about it is it gives all of these other bad actors all the ammunition in the world and all the entertainment in the world to amp people like him up. You notice how every time I start dunking on any of their other points, they immediately bring up Antarctica. When I point out, oh, look at the sketchiness with Artemis, look at the sketchiness with, oh, I thought someone was going to hit the moon. Immediately they bring up Antarctica. So yeah, it's very frustrating when other truthers constantly bring it up. They are, because their point that they're making right here, I'll land the plane here, but my point is that the point that they're making is, look, you guys have pareidolia. This is just like how you guys are with Antarctica. You're like that with space. Space is legit. And that you actually amp them up. You amplify their point. You strengthen their point when you come in and actually make the very arguments they claim that we make.
I think the way you're feeling right now is probably exactly how the astronauts feel when they have to listen to people like you.
If they actually went there,
they're
that
like,
would be
we
true.
went up
Yeah.
there, we flipped the bag around. It's a compression artifact, but they have to listen to you say that it's like some conspiracy dot thing or whatever.
No, because
Doesn't fair.
even with the bag, here's the difference, right? They would never come in here and talk to me for 2 hours about it. Never,
They
ever,
probably
ever.
wouldn't.
No,
They probably
would.
wouldn't.
Yeah, and I've talked to them face to face. You haven't. I've
Haven't
talked to them
you
face to
talked to the
face.
astronaut? You talked
I've
to the
talked to
Artemis
5
astronauts
separate
face to face?
astronauts. Yes, 5 of them.
Dang, impressive. I've talked to 0.
I have them recorded too, by the way. So
Did you
yeah,
ask
I've
him about
talked.
the bag?
No, not these astronauts of Artemis. My point is, I've talked to multiple astronauts that were on the ISS, supposedly, etc. And what do you know? They all have different answers. Apparently, they can't agree on whether or not you see the stars on the sun, the day side of Earth. Isn't that interesting? They're all up there for weeks at a time, but they can't figure out what you would see every day. They don't have the right answers. They all start stuttering. They all give me the same script about stars twinkle on Earth, but not in space. That's not what I asked you. They give me one person says you can see the stars, one person says you can't see the stars, the next person says you can't see the stars, the next person says you can see the stars. That makes no sense. I asked the girl who supposedly dropped her tool bag how it went down. She didn't even know the official story, started telling me a story that isn't the official story. It's ridiculous. I've talked to him face to face. So I
Have you
don't care
published these?
about other
Have you published
opinions.
these face-to-face interviews on your channel? I haven't
I
seen them.
haven't, but I probably should at this point. I originally didn't
Yeah,
because
you
I
should.
originally didn't because I was continually sneaking in there as like a NASA fanboy. I didn't want them to know who I was if the video went viral. But this is the other point here. That's just one of the issues with the Artemis footage, right? Another thing is when they're talking back and forth, there's a moment where there's supposed to be a delay, and the astronauts are literally reacting to what is said before the sufficient time of delay. There is no explanation for
That
that.
one's
And
so
no, I'm
funny.
not.
That one's
No,
terrible.
stop
I'm
interrupting
honestly
me. Stop
embarrassed. I'm
interrupting me. Stop
embarrassed of
interrupting
you
me.
for
Stop
bringing that
interrupting
one
me.
up.
Stop interrupting me. Stop interrupting. I'm not talking about when the flat earthers say that but they don't understand that it's locally recorded and there's only delay one way. Good try, buddy. I'm talking about the other way. The other way. That is physically impossible for there not to be a delay. You know, the other way, not the local recording on Earth, but the other way. So
Yeah,
you're so
it's the same.
embarrassed
It's
because
the
you made the
same.
assumption.
It's still dumb. It's
It
still
was
No,
dumb.
it's
one
not.
of them. One of them's live on TV. I don't know exactly if you want,
Wait, how
which
is it
you
still
guys-
dumb? Please enlighten me. Go ahead.
Because it's the same thing. Where was the audio? The audio that we were listening to, where did it come from? There's 2 things I've seen. One is the audio round trip. They answered before whatever, and you just go look at the timing of it, and you realize that the audio that you're hearing is not from their side; it's from a different side. The other one is like trying to manufacture, like some guy makes a face or something, and then you're assuming that he's making a face because of what's being said. That's a fallacy, by the way.
No, they actually react and respond to something that's said. So what you
Nope.
did was
What did they
you
react to
made
and
the
say?
assumption I was talking about because I agree that it's a terrible argument where people
No,
claim
I
the delay is off.
guarantee I know exactly the video. Let's find it.
Stop
I'll
interrupting me.
find it for you because I know what it
You
is.
just
Hold
started
on.
getting all excited. You thought that I was talking about, and you may not be honest enough to admit it's not my problem. We both know I'm telling the truth. You thought I was talking about the typical argument that people make where they look at the delay both ways and they don't account for the local recording, how there shouldn't be a delay. That's what you thought I was
Witsit.
talking about, which is a
No.
perfect example of why you
There's
should.
one
Yes,
where
it
they're
is. Why are
sitting.
you lying? No, don't change this. But
No,
okay,
I'll tell you
yes.
what. You want me to tell you what it is that the person reacted to? They're doing a video. It's an interview, and they're getting questions, right? And there's 3 people. One of them's like laying down, right? Holding. I can't remember what he's holding. He's like they're passing the mic in between them, and then one of them like makes a face at something. They're asking the girl a question about. I don't remember exactly what it is. Like what it's like being, or no, they're asking a question to the guy. He's the first of something to be in space.
So they asked
right?
about stars, and the guy turns and like doesn't know the answer and asks the other guy to answer it, which is sketchy in and of itself. But a lot of the like sketchiness of Artemis will never resonate with you people because you desperately want it to be true. This is the part that you don't understand, right? See if you can answer this. Hypothetically, if the government is faking things like the Artemis mission, they only fake them every once in a while, okay? And they've had 60, 70 years to work on it. Hypothetically, if they were going to try to fake that with VR technology, etc., what would we be able to do to prove it was fake?
I don't know, but we have
What
there's
would you
thousands
expect
of
to see?
hours.
Well,
There's
Answer this
thousands.
you
question.
actually
What
hold
would
on.
you? What
There's
would you
thousands
expect
of
If
to
you
hours.
wanted to
Hold on.
actually,
I'm just challenging your premise. There's thousands of hours of ISS video, impossible video that couldn't possibly be taken in the Vomit Comet. 10 minutes straight of people floating in the air. So pretending like this Artemis thing is a new thing that they don't ever do is crazy because we have tons of ISS footage.
This is a perfect example of how if I entertain the hypothetical scenario, by the way, I could literally make millions of dollars if I would just believe the stuff that you believe. Okay, so I have all the incentive in the world to do it. Okay, when I entertain the idea they actually are on the ISS, for example, and that's not exaggeration at all, like when I actually entertain it, you guys do such a disservice for your side. You say stuff like the 10 consecutive minutes. We go look at it. There are blatantly cuts in the video. Blatantly cuts. Your side will never come out and tell us there's a cut. You'll never even look at it close enough to find the cut. You'll never
find you
even
10 minutes straight. You don't think it
Dude,
exists?
do you not understand the point? Wait, fuck them out. So when I asked you, what would we do to prove it's fake? You said, I don't know. It just proves that you're not in any way examining
that's
fake.
my answer. That's my answer.
And then the second thing is okay. What would be some possible artifacts of fakery that you could expect to see?
For example, them falling. So they're floating in space, and then all of a sudden, one of them, their hair stops floating. It comes down like
that actually happened.
They fall to the floor, and then they're sitting on the floor, and then they're like, "Whoops!" That would.
But wait, can I respond to you and say, wait, why would they live stream it?
There's the red dot video we showed earlier on is 13 minutes long without any cuts.
Pinky,
that isn't the same at all. He's talking about them floating for 10 consecutive minutes.
Yeah, there are. I can find you videos.
The thing you asked for, it actually happened. The guy on the ESA he was doing a flip. He didn't fall to the floor, but he did fall a little during his flip. Like, I don't know, something happened with the wires or something, but a fall did happen there.
And when he got up, he looked all embarrassed and he looked like a dog, like when a dog knows that it did something wrong. It's like
also, real quick, Gio, how many minutes straight did we get with no cuts in this video they're talking about? Remember with the ISS?
There's several of them, yeah. We went over the one, with Kosho years ago, like one of the big ones. I mean, it's all been gone on.
I mean, we have videos where you just see the person disappear before he turns the corner, and they're like, "Oh, compression." So, like, if you were to answer my question honestly,
temporal compression.
If you were to answer my question honestly,
let me ask you a question. The one of him
interrupting me, dude.
No, you just made a point.
Answer my question.
You made a point, and I want to address it.
Stop interrupting.
Well, then just wait a minute, let him finish, and then address it.
Bro, he takes forever.
So, if you were to answer my question if you were to have answered my question honestly, and the reason you didn't is because the answer would obviously be a lot of the things that we see, which goes to Gio's point where there's two possible explanations for a lot of the things. And you can't even be intellectually honest enough to admit that if they were faking it, a lot of the possible artifacts that we would see is what we do see.
Can you be in good faith?
If you guys I'm being good faith, but I'll go back to my point earlier.
No, but can you agree with just that?
If you say here, this is evidence that they're faking it, and you point at something that can easily be explained as a temporal compression artifact, that's terrible evidence. That would not convince me.
First of all, that's no way. Like
easily it convinces you guys, but it wouldn't convince me.
But that no way a guy fading out. It's a temporal compression.
Yeah, because the thing about that one, like with the fading out, I was going to say, is that you see the wall behind him. So in physical reality, if that guy was actually there, his body was physically there, and he's in front of the wall behind him, and the camera's on the other side of the room or whatever, looking at him, you would never be able to see the wall behind him. There's no, because it's just not available. There's something in front of the wall, his body. The fact that he disappears and you see the wall shows that is some kind of a virtual reality layer and is not just some compression artifact. If that was in reality, you never would have been able to see the wall. You can't see through a person. The camera can't see through.
That's literally temporal compression. That's how it works. It takes.
Oh my god! So now there's no way to ever catch them doing anything because the computer is like a supercomputer AI, even though it's nothing like AI. And what it does is it just instantly fills in every pixel of the image, even when it's being physically blocked in the camera.
Let me ask: was there any time during that scene where that part of the image was present and you could see it? Like, did the guy move across it?
Of course. Why would it?
Now Google, open up. No, hold on. Open up your AI of choice and just give it that exact scenario. Say there's a fixed background and somebody moves. There's an object that moves across that background. would it be possible to see this artifact that you're describing?
Would it
Ask
be
it and see
possible?
if that is
Would it be possible?
yeah,
Why
is
would
that
why would the
explainable? Is that
compression?
reasonably explainable? Hold on. Is that reasonably explainable as a temporal compression artifact?
Why
Ask
would
it,
the
try it.
compression make the
I'll do it
person
for you.
disappear? You're basically suggesting that the technology is retarded and completely inept, incompetent, and useless.
You can make a better one. You can make a better temporal compression algorithm, but what you're doing is just saying, no, that doesn't exist and that couldn't happen.
No, that isn't what I'm saying. That isn't what he said.
It kind of is what you're saying. And remember, you didn't even know what this was.
Doing.
You didn't even
That's
know
what
that this thing
you're
existed
doing.
20 minutes
Wait, okay.
ago.
When did NASA start using it?
This has existed since MPEG compression was created. It's always been there.
So everything that's ever been broadcast uses it?
Pretty much. Like when you see the videos, it's like the devil eyes, and then you see like news broadcasters where their eyes like flicker black in and out. Temporal compression artifact. It's always been there.
So it's being used in practically every broadcast, but I've never seen an NBA player disappear. I've never seen an NFL player disappear.
Actually, I have
coincidentally, stop
a video
interrupting me every time that I speak because you're getting nervous and you're not secure in your position. It never happens in the countless. Well, now it's someone else's turn to try to make.
No, I have a video of a soccer ball.
You guys just heard me start to make the point and you freaked out.
You guys,
so you're already wrong. I'll give you a video of a soccer ball.
Stop interrupting me.
This is just the good faith thing. It's not in good faith to just interrupt because you think someone's wrong. You have to be in good faith. You have to wait until they're finished and then address their point. Bad faith is just one time derail, which is what QOP was doing earlier, where he figured that. Yeah, he just thought he would just keep interrupting until it was either so disruptive or he gets muted, which is just totally toxic to any good environment. But anyways.
Well, I remember Witsit saying in another stream.
Just let me make
said in another stream that
I said my body intellectual. Let him finish. All right, you can respond after. Let him finish.
So it's like if you take like say all the broadcasts, we have news broadcasts, we have sports broadcasts, we have all kinds, 10,000x the amount of footage in broadcasts we've been shown from the ISS or something. So your argument is that there is an overwhelming disproportionate representation of these artifacts on the ISS as compared to everyday broadcasts on Earth.
Overwhelming. You've given two examples, but I do remember one time you were saying. Now I'm talking. You're interrupting, but I do remember in another stream you said a true intellectual will welcome an agreement if the person is correcting something incorrect. They said.
Well, you said to Google it, and I did, and it says a temporal compression artifact does not make a person completely fade away to reveal their clean background, and instead, it causes ghosting, smearing, or blocky visual trails where previous video frames bleed into current.
What's a ghosting trail?
That's what I expect as well. That sounds.
What's a ghost? Would you say that guy looks like a ghost as he goes through
that's
the doorway?
not a ghost. Ghosting trail is when you leave artifacts behind.
Yeah, which is like what you do see on broadcast, right? Like if you ever see a glitch on a broadcast, you'll see pixels from the like person where they previously were, like lag behind them, and it'll specifically block out the background.
Okay, post this. Somebody posted the GIF of it. Elbow, post that in there.
I'm bringing it up on the screen share too.
I'm going to ask AI explain and describe the artifacts that we would expect to see if they were faking it.
But I think the point you made before, like it's a excessive amount of, like if you looked at all the footage of people like visiting, China or Australia or something, was that kind of your point? There wouldn't be nearly as many of these issues.
It's just way overrepresented in space footage.
That's crazy. If you guys were to analyze like a Hollywood film, you would find thousands of weird mistakes all over the place.
No,
you only are seeing these because you're analyzing and Survivor.
Hollywood films would strengthen our position because Hollywood films specifically use special effects, virtual objects, post-production. We're talking about like when I watched the NBA Finals, not one of these artifacts have existed in the last 10 years I've watched it. The Super Bowl doesn't have these artifacts. None of the NFL games have these artifacts. None of the World Cup games have these artifacts. So whenever way more people are watching it, way more movement at way faster speeds is happening, that doesn't happen. But when people are slowly moving around in space, it happens at like 100x the rate.
Incorrect. They happen. No, these artifacts happen all the time. You're just hyperfixating on the ones on the videos that you hyperfixate on.
Have you ever
focus really hard on something? Huh?
Go show me it happening in the Super Bowl.
I don't even know if I have access to Super Bowl footage.
Yeah, why
Okay, go to
are
the
you
World Cup
only,
footage.
why are
Whatever.
you only fixated on the errors they show with it and not on the errors?
And like this
Can
is
I
where I'm
ask
saying
a
All I'm
like
question
saying is,
like
about
a
have
stronger
you ever
argument
watched
would
a
be
world?
to
Hold on. Have
a
you ever
stronger.
watched a World Cup game? Have you ever watched a World Cup game and just gone slow motion and watched the ball at every frame to make sure it didn't disappear?
Why would I go slow motion? I don't have to go slow motion to see people disappear in
Exactly.
this
Why
footage.
would you analyze it
I don't
like
have to
that?
go slow motion and to watch people disappear in this footage.
Can you explain the core differences which sit between a live sporting broadcast on digital TV versus, and not a streaming, but live free to air TV, digital TV, and the ISS? What are the key
Well, that's a way better
constraints?
argument. I was literally about to say that. I was literally about to say if you guys were going to make an actual good argument, you would try to make a distinction between like the ISS and something on Earth, like a sports broadcast, and you would probably
Can you?
claim something about how the broadcast is different. It's probably more heavily dependent upon this algorithm or whatever. That would be a much smarter argument. I'm not going to make it for you, so if you want to make it,
Okay.
you can.
Can I make it?
Yeah.
So free to air TV, to start with, it's not latency is not a big concern for them. They can have many seconds of latency between live and what arrives on your TV. That gives them many seconds of time to optimize the compression. The bandwidth is massive compared to ISS. So the ISS is real time. You have to interact with it. Latency has to be super low, and the bandwidth and the link reliability is an order of magnitude or two less than what they have for free-to-air broadcast.
Yeah, but that
So,
still wouldn't cause that issue.
so
The
you're
only thing that will
massively
cause that issue
constrained.
is a layering effect.
So,
And they
so
have
in
a
the case of the red dot, or any time the background appears, the low latency live broadcast will potentially look at temporal frames 5 or 10 frames behind, or even more. Anything that it's got in its history that it can use to fill in the lost information that was not present in the transmission of that frame. So it knows which bits are missed, right? And it has to fill them in with something at the time it renders. And that's what temporal compression is about. It's about finding something that should match what was probably going to be in the scene. It's kind of a probabilistic encoding, if you like. It's trying to work out what it's got in its history that it can use to reconstruct the frame because it doesn't have the actual data.
All right,
Very complicated.
I posted a clip of a soccer or football match, depending on where you're from. Just watch the ball through it and watch it disappear and reappear. And when I was talking earlier about there's P frames and I frames, and every X number of frames, it'll essentially reset. The ball will reappear, then it gets lost in the temporal motion because it's moving fast, and then reappears, disappears, reappears. That's a temporal compression artifact.
Dude, I never at any point disputed the phenomena. You're
You
not
just
even
said, I don't
engaging.
see it in soccer. You literally
No,
5 seconds ago said, you don't ever see this when you watch soccer. I'm showing you soccer and showing you the
no,
ball
you.
disappearing.
No. What was my actual argument?
What's
Your
the
argument
point of
was,
this?
Your argument was we don't see this when we watch normal
No,
sporting
what
events,
was my
normal
actual argument?
broadcast. What we see is disproportionately, we see way more
There you
in
go.
space. And you provided
There you go.
two examples.
So,
If I provide
dude,
you
okay.
three, if
So
I
now
provide
you're just
three,
being
then I'll outweigh you.
overtly. Now you're just being overtly dishonest. First of all, if you offered 3, then it would still be disproportionate, even if we only offered 2. Do you know how? Do you not know how that works? Do you know how like per capita works?
This is also like looks like a cell phone camera of a flat screen TV in a dark room. Like this is kind of different, and there is a little bit of a
going on.
There's a little bit of a glitching effect of the ball kind of like getting mixed with the background layer of the fans behind it, but this really doesn't match any of like what we find with all the ISS and moon landing stuff. This isn't even really in the same category. This looks like just a little glitch. And it's also being taken.
When you say a little glitch, I would say the dot disappearing is also a little glitch. It's the same. Anybody that understands it, you can show it to them and they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's temporal compression." Unless you have a different explanation for why that ball glitches out.
I mean, your truth journey is yours, right? Like you're finding the truth for yourself, right? Because I mean, obviously, people generally are not going to like drastically shift other people's viewpoints like overnight or whatever. Anyways, so I mean, it's your own truth journey. I mean, if you think you're finding the truth with your approach, that's fine. If you question it, then keep questioning it. I mean, I think I don't think this soccer game is fake, but the ISS footage is. So that's what I think the actual truth is. And if you don't think that, then are you defending the truth or the non-truth? Do you think for yourself?
Well, the way I would say it is, I believe that the dot disappearing is the most reasonable explanation for it is a temporal compression artifact.
Well, that's what you think, right? And I disagree, but that's
what I think.
fine. But like,
Yeah, that's
this is the thing. This is the thing, right? It is undeniable that there's a disproportionate amount of it. So like, I consistently try to think of the strongest argument for the opposite of what I think. Like, that's just the truth. The strongest argument is for sure to delineate a distinction between the type of broadcast that happens in space, et cetera. This is actually why I started Audit NASA, which the website got DDoS attacked every other day. A bunch of you weirdos blew up all of the applications, and you psychos tried to constantly bring it down and tear it down and stuff like that. And then you would donate money and chargebacks and all this crazy stuff just to sabotage it because you're psychos, which makes no sense, right? Because the entire point, I literally made a rule that no one was allowed to talk about flat Earth in the organization. I made a rule that no one was allowed to demonstrate any type of bias, and that it was open to both sides of any of these topics, and it was simply to demand higher quality production, like higher quantity of material, and like efficient responses to FOIA requests, etc. Right? Like just transparency and accountability, which would be beneficial to the people that believe it's true as well, right? Because we hear all the time that people are disappointed in the quality or the lack of efficiency or whatever. And instead of working, because in theory, if you guys knew you were so true, you would be all for us getting all these answers. They would just dunk on us and give us all the raw footage and all this, right? But instead, the website got attacked, and it was costing me thousands of dollars a month to protect the website, to pay for the website, to run the website, to build the website, to pay for all the different things that we paid for inside of it, like the CMR and all this stuff, CRM. So anyway, but this is a perfect example of where that would have been very useful, where in theory, this whole entire thing could be eliminated, because we should be able to FOIA request the footage, the raw footage of where that guy disappears. And if what you're saying is true, he doesn't disappear.
Can I ask a question to the people that are defending the glitch or the footage? I don't know about defending, but are, I guess, believing it. Like, does it bother you that we don't have like a raw footage? Like, when you see it glitching out, does it irk you? Like, isn't that at the very least some level of like negligence? Even if you believe it and you think that other people should believe it, like, that there's skeptics out here, and we want to see actual footage without artifacting, without ghosting. We want to see like real evidence. And so a lot of people will go to this. A lot of people will go to this as if it's good evidence of a space station. And so if that's the case, if it's going to be used in that way, then it should be presented with a chain of custody and with without this sort of artifacting. We should be able to obtain raw footage from cold storage itself. We don't have to worry about interpolating frames from space, quote unquote.
It's a live stream. You have to interpolate frames from space.
Yeah,
footage, right?
I just said cold storage. Like something to corroborate your live stream.
Well, no, it doesn't bother me, to answer your question.
Okay, so that's
same reason why when I watch, I posted another soccer game where the ball disappears, and I don't need to go demand that the broadcasting company give me.
Well, right, because there is no contention about the soccer game taking place.
There is. I'm contending it.
Okay, so you're just
where'd that ball go? I want to know where the ball go. If
you're
it went into another dimension, so I want to see the raw footage.
Right? So you don't understand. You don't understand why a chain of custody and why corroborating cold storage footage would be beneficial for your case. You don't understand that.
It won't make any of you guys.
Where's the video?
It won't move the needle for any of you guys.
So that wasn't my question.
See, I don't need it. I don't need it because I already know when I look at something.
I didn't ask if you needed it. I asked if you understood why it would be a good thing to get.
It doesn't. No, it's not a good thing.
I know you have faith. I know you have faith. My point is, for those of us that don't have faith and we want real evidence, why would it not bother you that doesn't exist?
Because it won't help you. That's why.
So you just
really impractical to.
Would it help you? Would it change? Would it move the needle for you if you got that raw footage?
Look at this shit. It's like it's going to be like a terabyte long fucking video. Like, No
that's
one's
the
going to host
government's
that.
job. Good thing that we pay for it, I guess.
Is
Huh?
it though?
So,
Is that really
yeah,
what we
it
want?
literally
Yes,
Is that
is.
how we
It
want to
literally
allocate
is.
the government's money?
It
Is to
literally
host
is their
videos,
job. Yes.
giant
And first of all,
videos?
do you know how FOIA works? They charge you money. Okay. So first of all, stop making the excuse about money. They charge you money for it. They literally charge you for the hours it takes to go get it. Secondly, we already paid for it. That's ridiculous on its face. And thirdly, you guys seem to forget the history that when they first claimed to do this whole go to space thing, the vast majority of Americans were skeptical. Okay. This is one of the craziest claims of like claimed feats of humanity's history. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
So us
But then
being
we
skeptical of it
sent
and
like
demanding proof is
1500
perfectly reasonable.
satellites into space.
Yeah,
They're
and
the
there was
same
like this
people that would
whole
have told
live
us that JFK is
broadcast of the
official
moon
story.
landing and all this stuff. It was like some bunch of crazy stuff that happened.
Yeah, and add to that that the
It
the Nazis were the first ones to make rocket technology from Werner von Braun being part of a concentration camp that was slave labor, and like over 20 to 30,000 people died in that slave camp to make the rockets that claim to go up to first get the images of the alleged globe, and then and then the moon landing, which was also Nazi rocket technology. For the first time in human history, it was Nazis that got off the ball. Like, I'm just saying the entire the entire story from front to back is worth questioning, to say the least. From that fact,
And you can't knock that German engineering, all right?
So, I mean,
I'd
it's
almost
like,
forgotten that Nazis built rockets, but
what's so funny is like
yeah.
it came out that the Nazis were lying to their people about their rocket capability. It's like that's not even disputed. It's admitted that they propagandized the public with little miniature models and exaggerated the rocket capability of what they had. And then we brought them over
Propaganda
here.
from a government at war? No.
Yeah, yeah.
So you see, yeah, you hear how you're so
Yeah,
like
okay. Well,
demeaning,
are any of
but
these
Wow, propaganda
flat?
during war.
Are
I've
any
never
of
heard
these?
of that.
Are
oh
any of
my
these
God, here
flat?
comes the autistic,
Hey,
irrelevant
no
point.
interrupting. Witsit. Are any of these flat versus globe exclusives? Like,
No, do you want to
for
go start your
example,
own server?
For example, if the moon landing is a lie, then there's no chance the Earth's a globe. It has to be flat. Or yeah, that. All of
Do you want to go
space,
start your own
ISS.
server?
If are these exclusives with it?
No, but do you want to go start your own server where
That's
the
what
only
I
thing that's
thought.
allowed?
That's what I wanted to know. Thank
Do
you
you,
very
do you
much.
want do you want to go start your own server where the only thing
No,
you're
we're
allowed
here
to
to
talk
listen
about?
to you waste our time for 4 hours. Now get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in here like 7 times in 2 years, bro.
It's nice to have you here, but I reckon we're about to have our time wasted because so far it's been fucking a bunch of BS.
So why don't you just go start your own server where the
we're
only thing
here
that you're
to
allowed
listen
to talk?
to you, Witsit.
Hey man, chill out, man.
Thank
Why
you,
don't
go
you
ahead.
start your own server where the only thing
Chill
people
out,
can
man. Go
talk
ahead.
about is something that's exclusive to that? Because that's not what we're doing right now. Because whether or not the Earth is flat or a globe, if they're lying about going to space, that's significant. They're lying to my daughter. They're trying to put rockets and planets and astronauts all over her pajamas.
Yep.
Okay, so like it doesn't matter. Like each of the lies are significant.
My
It doesn't.
problem is I'm burdened with the intelligence. I know that these conversations, they're framed as posturing positions for flat versus globe, but then we get really balls out passionate over non-exclusive things. And we like to delude ourselves and think, oh, if I can just beat this guy or convince him on this non-exclusive position, then it'll prove my original position, which is what this is all about, is shape of the world.
Well, that's maybe what it is for you, right? But like it isn't entirely irrelevant. Like when I first found out about flat Earth, the first thing I did was just went and looked up pictures of Earth. So I'm like, this is retarded. And then I found out that the blue marble that was put on my my friend's first generation iPhone was fake. I found out that the last claimed real one was from 1972. And I'm like, wait a minute. So what that means is if the Apollo missions were faked, which I already thought they were, I was definitely not a flat earther though, right? Then the whole mission they claimed to get that first picture of the Earth in entirety from space isn't legitimate. So that does obviously bring up the question like, wait a minute. So what is the proof? That now gives you a motive to lie about it. It now discredits the primary evidence presented for the globe Earth, etc. So it isn't entirely unrelated. But what we are now on is the precipice of a whole new era of space propaganda. They are telling us that they're going to go to Mars in the next 7 years. Elon Musk just claimed that we're going to go to Mars within the next 5 to 7 years on X a few days ago. Okay, they're claiming that they're going to go to the moon again. They're going to build a base. That they're going to go to Mars. We're about to get hit with a huge.
But what about what I
onslaught of
said? What
propaganda.
about what I said? You completely Nothing of what you're saying has anything to do with what I'm saying. So you just said swerve, fuck what you said, and you carry on with your fucking preaching. How about we go back? None of these points are flat versus globe exclusives. But
Dude,
this
just
is
I
what
just made a
everyone's-
flat point. I
this
just made
is
a
what
flat versus
everyone's
globe
posturing
point.
on, though. I don't have a problem
Dude.
with you guys talking about it. It's
Stop
just that
preaching.
the energy we put up forth, we unneedingly are fighting with each other energetically on a topic that is not unique to any position.
Dude, first of all, you're acting as though the other side, other than
but
maybe the occasional, you're
carry on with
interrupting
it. I don't even
immediately,
want to
right? So
fucking.
like, you're the one that can't act in good faith. You're just projecting. So you're pretending as though like the other side, other than the occasional exception, is here in this good faith pursuit of what is true and uncovering some lie, or that we don't understand what the true nature of the realm and space travel is. That isn't the case at all. We've just shown in this conversation alone that they won't even interact in good faith the majority of the time. Whenever I ask if they were faking and what would we expect to see, I don't know. Okay, what would be some artifacts that would maybe happen? I don't know. How could we prove it was fake? I don't know. They aren't interested in anything other than what confirms what they believe to be true. So this isn't like a big kumbaya, we're all on the same page, let's find out what they're lying about. That isn't how this works. So if you want to,
I'll
get
give you a
angry
couple
about
other
the
things.
division, then maybe blame
Like
the
if-
people that are here strictly for sadistic reasons.
If space is fake, like one claim the globe and space people make is that we send satellites up. We get, you can get Starlink coverage anywhere in the world. That would be a good thing we could test to see if that's
but
true.
I don't think that's exclusive at all.
So then why couldn't we send people up into the ether?
Oh wait,
if we can send satellites up there, if we can
just
send
to clarify-
satellites up there into space, why couldn't we send people up
Yes,
there?
I that's my position. Is that in theory it's not even technically impossible. I don't know what is up there. In theory, it's not even technically impossible on a flat Earth that isn't moving with an ether that you could go up there and float. In fact, there seems to be many different models that would possibly explain that. Right, that there's once you get closer to some type of containment, there's an electric phenomena that causes an elemental transition of states, like say oxygen. You get the gas into the liquid into the solid, right, based on the freezing temperature, and you could have an electric phenomena that would cause you to basically cling up towards the top or to even levitate in the liquid, the fluid medium, right? Like I don't even believe if people were up there floating that it's exclusive to anything to do with your model. I definitely don't think satellites are, but that isn't the reason that I don't believe it though. The reason I don't believe it is because the stories don't add up. They've been caught in tons of lies. There's tons of things that don't make sense. We've caught things that are very clearly being orchestrated and strong evidence of fakery. So I don't believe them. No, I don't believe them. Like when the government claims they did something 60 years ago and then they destroyed all the technology and the evidence, they destroyed the original film, they can't give it to us, and they destroyed and lost the original technology that we required to play the original film, and then it takes them 6 decades to supposedly repeat it, but then they push it off for 15 years after claiming they were going to do it for the full 6 decades. No, I don't believe that because I'm not retarded. It's the same reason I don't believe that the JFK official story is true. That doesn't like
You're a conspiracy theorist. It's fine. Like we get that there's but those reasons for you not believing it they're not like scientific.
None of this conversation
you just don't
is
trust
scientific.
them.
None of this
But
conversation
you
is scientific.
do trust Elon Musk to put satellites in space to make Starlink work. However it works, you do trust that.
I don't have to trust him because I actually see them and I use it.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Do you understand the difference there? I don't trust Elon Musk for anything.
Why couldn't he project? Why couldn't he project those? Like when you look up and see them, they couldn't just be projections.
Because I use them.
So
can you explain how they work?
Maybe it's just a ground tower that connects to you.
The very physics of it actually supports my position stronger than yours.
That's what I'm saying. How can you prove that those are actually real?
Where was the Starlink Antarctica when you were
Newtonian
there?
mechanics system that you invoke for satellites requires invoking an external inertial force that is not predicted within your system of mechanics. It literally isn't an argument for your side.
That's incorrect too. Where's the towers when you were using Starlink in Antarctica? Where were the towers there?
Hey NASA, does satellites have to use centrifugal forces?
No.
Where was the
don't?
towers? Where was the towers in Antarctica when you were using Starlink there?
Stop bringing up a random point about Antarctica.
Random point? You just said it was all towers. You used Starlink
I didn't say
in Antarctica.
anything about towers.
Where was the tower? You did too.
No, I didn't.
Just a couple of minutes ago, you were talking about you don't need to know how it works.
I didn't say anything about towers. I said what? I didn't say anything about towers.
How did it work?
You avoided my question
though. How did it work in Antarctica? How
Do you
did how
guys?
did Starlink work in
How come none of
Antarctica?
the people call this guy out in this moment?
How come you can
That's
just
what I want to
ramble
know. Why
on
do
and
none of the
when
other
I call
Globers
you out
call
on
him out right
something,
now?
and when I
I
call
will.
you out on something, you have to
Hey,
call
dude,
me out?
that's actually not what he said. That was Pinky making an ironic comment. You should chill on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. Thank you. So
But
this
you
is
didn't
the
answer my
You
point.
still
question
can't
with it.
explain
How
how it
would you
works in
prove
Antarctica, though,
somebody?
right?
Hold on, NASA, chill out. How somebody that's skeptical that says satellites don't exist? How would you prove
Yeah.
to them that satellites are in fact real?
Well, I wouldn't say that you can necessarily prove it other than like what I've seen. I've seen Starlinks in the sky. They seem to be significantly more local than what they claim other satellites are, although they claim that Starlinks are super far. You can see them very clearly. You can zoom in on them. I've done that. I've tracked them. And I've gone into places with no service, including Antarctica, but not just Antarctica, and used Starlink. I have the small one and the big one. It works consistently. There's something above me giving me signals. Is that exclusive to it? No, you could have like the Saloon fleets, which they do use for data. They try to, roll that out in Africa to give them internet specifically. Like there isn't actually exclusive proof of it, right? I have people that I don't believe are lying to me, even flat earthers that have actually put satellites up, right? So they claim that they did it. They told me how they did it. They're flat earthers. I have someone that works with military contracts, and this is like classified information, right? But they're also flat earthers. They also work with satellites. These are kind of like anecdotal things, but we can get a signal from the Starlink. That's pretty undeniable. I would say it's very ignorant for someone to pretend that Starlink isn't a real thing if they've never even tried to utilize it. And that is what it is. My position is not that you can prove or disprove it. My position is that it isn't exclusive to anything. If you actually look at the satellite equations using Newtonian mechanics, it actually invokes an inertial force that isn't predicted within the Newtonian mechanics system. There's a
I
centrifugal
wasn't making
force
that
that.
point. I wasn't making
Well,
that
my
point
point.
though.
Do you get the point that
Did you
it's not
really
exclusive
say
anyway?
that you have that people that work on classified satellites who are flat earthers?
I didn't say classified satellites. I said they have military contracts. A lot of the specifics are classified, and yes, they're flat earthers, 100%. Some of the biggest military contracts in the United States.
I call bullshit.
I don't give a fuck what you do.
But my point wasn't that
be more
satellites are
irrelevant to me.
exclusive for Globe Witsit. My point was, how can you prove that they're real against a skeptic? Because it's sort of like the same question you asked me
I
earlier.
said you
It's like,
can't.
how
I said
could
you
you
can't.
disprove? How would you know that they're faking it?
You really can't prove or disprove it. I did answer you.
Yeah. So why was it bad faith when I said I don't know earlier, and now when you say I don't know, it's good faith?
What? No, but I gave off a list of things that's corroborative evidence. Whenever you said what I asked you was what would we expect to see in the hypothetical scenario that they were faking it? You said
Yeah.
I
So
don't
same
know.
question for you on satellites. How would we know that they're faking it?
There would just be a lack of evidence. There would be discrepancies in their mainstream story of satellites, which with some of the further satellites that are claimed to be further away, there are discrepancies. Even with their telescopes that are telescope satellites that are supposedly super far away, there are lots of discrepancies. So you would find like evidence that doesn't match their official claims, right? I mean,
So do you think there's evidence that that doesn't match the official claims regarding satellites?
yes. And
Okay,
the
so
satellites
therefore we
telescopes.
reasonable in assuming that they're fake.
No, like it's the skepticism is reasonable. The claim that they are there is the positive claim. So like you guys have everything backwards where you for some reason believe that the default position should be to assume that they're really there and what they're saying is really true.
No.
You can
What I'd
see
say is
them
like
and
Artemis went
track
up. We
them.
could track it. You could see it. You could track. Same with satellites. Everything you've just said about satellites was also true of Artemis.
No, you saw a rocket shoot up in the sky and then you could track
So
it
you
for
see with
temporarily.
the satellites with Starlink, you just see a dot in the sky.
Oh, okay.
Have
And
you
then
ever
you can get a
zoomed in
signal
on a
from
Starlink satellite and seen like the
I
electronics in
have
it?
the
You've
electronics
zoomed
in
in on a
it.
Starlink satellite and seen the electronics on it? Damn.
No, the electronics in it.
Yeah, or just like
No,
details of
I
its
have
surface.
zoomed in on Starlinks. Yes, they're definitely not 3,500 miles away. I can tell you that.
No, they're not. They're 250 miles away.
They claim some of the Starlinks are insane distances away.
I don't think so.
No,
Starlink is
they're
away.
all
Yes, I
low Earth
do.
orbit.
But like you saw, so you zoomed in, you saw a couple pixels of a Starlink. That's not any different. And we get the radio signals from Artemis, just like you get your internet service from the dot in the sky. Like, what's the difference?
Well, yeah, it says 350 miles. What was your question?
My question is, Artemis was a dot in the sky that went up and got smaller. We could send radio communications forward and backwards, even people that weren't part of the government. You're saying you also saw a dot in the sky that somebody claimed was a
radio
satellite.
communications back and
Somebody,
forth.
I'm almost done. So I'm almost done. You looked up in the sky, you saw a dot in the sky that sent you a radio communication, and you said that's how you know that one's real.
What?
So
No,
why
I
not
said
apply
my
the same
opinion
logic
is
to
that
the
it's
Artemis?
real because I get internet from it and I've seen it. Like, what? I mean, whatever. If someone wants to believe they're not real, I even gave an explanation as how that isn't exclusive to it being real. Do you understand how I am
No, you said it's not
consistent and
exclusive to
you
it
are
being a
not
globe.
consistent?
No, you
No.
said it's not exclusive to it being a globe, because then you went into your whole thing about the physics of
No.
it.
That isn't all that I said. I specifically explained alternative explanations of how it doesn't exclusively prove it's real. I said like a fleet of Satelloons, which they actually deployed in Africa to give them internet, for example.
Satelloons don't have Doppler.
Yeah, but when you look up and see that dot and you zoomed in on it, was it a balloon?
No, you can't really make out exactly what it is at all, but no, I don't think it's a balloon. There's definitely something moving across the sky. Like what it is, I don't know, right? There could be many
Okay,
things.
so it is, if there's no balloon up there, then it is exclusive to, well, it's at least exclusive of it being a balloon.
Yeah, it could be some type
Right.
of drone technology. I don't know. But I think that personally, I think that satellites are real. I've said
Yes, I
this
know, I
for
agree.
4 years
Welcome to
now.
the globe.
What I'm trying to do is hold you.
Well,
I'm just
it's
trying to
not
hold you
welcome to the
accountable.
globe unless
It
you're
is welcome to the
trying
globe. Show
Witsit,
me
I'm just
flat
trying
Earth
to
orbital mechanics, please.
Witsit, I'm trying to hold you consistent to your claims and the way you've characterized my take on Artemis, which I feel like is very close to the way that you're talking about satellites.
No, it's really not, right? Because your default position is that, first of all, we don't have, like, it's not the same at all, right? We have claimed footage of them being inside of Artemis, and then we see a bunch of discrepancies. We do not have that with satellites.
No, you
Like,
don't. I
there's
mean,
a,
you saw some temporal compression artifacts.
that's what you call it.
Yeah, that's the most reasonable explanation for it. Do you not think that that's a
That's what you
reasonable
think.
explanation?
No, no. Like when I look at the preponderance of evidence when it comes to like the ISS and Artemis, no, I absolutely do not think that, right? Like
No,
there are
I'm not saying
multiple examples
overall.
of things
I'm saying
falling down.
because it could be the case that they faked it all, but also they compressed that video and got a compression artifact in it, right?
Yeah, of course. But my point is like they've dropped
Okay.
stuff in the videos.
So
They've
do you think the red dot, it's reasonable for somebody to say that's a temporal compression artifact? That's the most reasonable explanation. Do you say yes or no to
I
that?
don't think it's the most reasonable. No, I think it's way too crisp. You know, like I don't like it doesn't strike me as what I've seen compression artifacts. Like you see pixelation left behind and it's just way too crisp and then gone. But is it a possible explanation? Yes.
Yeah, like the soccer ball disappearing and reappearing that I showed you earlier. It
Yeah.
still cracks me up that you didn't know what temporal compression artifacts were. And
Don't,
then
now you're
an
just
hour
nagging
later,
me 'cause
you're
you're
like, I definitely don't think it's reasonable to assume that could be a temporal
I didn't
compression
say
artifact.
that. I just said it was possible.
No, you just said it's not a
Most.
reasonable.
No, I said
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
not
the
the
most.
most reasonable explanation.
Yeah, and then you changed it to reasonable because you're being dishonest and you're desperately looking for a gotcha. But the problem you have here is you're not going to get a gotcha
No,
because
don't.
I'm just
Hey,
being
I'll tell you
honest.
what's a good sign of bad faith is telling other people why they do things.
Well, then you tell me why you just intentionally added most and then changed it to remove most to claim I said it wasn't reasonable.
It was an honest mistake. I wasn't trying to get a gotcha on you.
So this is the thing. The footage shows them dropping things multiple times. The biggest red flags to me, which are so obvious, in my opinion, are them dropping things and then the like orchestrated flips and stuff where they get caught suddenly, like they're doing a flip and then their momentum just stops suddenly and they come back down. Like all kinds of sketchy stuff with like them trying to, for one, the fact that their primary goal in the ISS broadcast seems to be to convince the staff that they're there is sketchy to me. And then they do these little orchestrated like dance routines basically, and they mess up. They oftentimes mess up. People have like just abruptly shifted down or fell down. People have done flips and got caught and spun back around, and they've dropped items multiple times. And items have been seen falling down in the background of the footage. This cannot happen at all, ever, not even once. in
Well, let's say
space.
the dropping one's great. I mean, the idea that they flip and get caught on, they're in a tiny enclosed area and they do a flip and then get caught on something that stops their acceleration. It's crazy that you're like, the best explanation for that is that it's fake, but dropping sounds legit. Post that
Well, if
video.
there's no
Let's watch the
resistance to me
dropping one.
doing if there's no resistance to me doing a flip, then it's pretty difficult to explain how in 0G you would do a flip and then suddenly your momentum would stop and you'd like get caught still and then you'd fall back down the other way.
You can't think of any reason why in a tight enclosed area you could do a maneuver in the middle of free space and then something might happen, like, I don't know, say part of you gets
Only
caught
if your
on
toes.
something,
Only if you
gets
stub
caught
your
on
toe on the ceiling.
something, you know,
Well,
and your rotation
there's nothing
stops.
to get caught on though in the footage. So
You'd have to post it. You have to post it. But the dropping one's good. Let's see the dropping one. Because I
There's a
agree.
lot of
In
dropping
zero
ones.
G, you shouldn't, and we can measure the acceleration pixel. I'm sure you did that already. Measured the acceleration. What was the acceleration of the dropping object?
it doesn't matter.
Sure, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Why?
The objects can't drop at all.
Well, like why? Why would you say the acceleration doesn't matter? That's an odd
Because the
claim.
objects can't drop at all.
Yeah, but could objects fall on Earth at like a
Why are we
non-gravity
talking
rate?
about Earth?
Well, where do you think they filmed it?
Yes, absolutely. Things could fall. Wait, what? The objects themselves are being layered, or they're in a vomit comet. That would be the two plausible explanations, in my opinion, right? But like,
Well, if they're in a
people say the
zero
most
G vomit
ridiculous
comet, things
answers
can't
for this.
drop either. If they're in a vomit comet and something drops, it's not going to fall. It's not going to fall either.
That's
If the
true,
airplane
right?
just
So like,
changes its direction even a little bit, then it's going to
Yeah, then
simulate
everything will
a
fall.
fall
Everything will
and
fall.
not necessarily at like normal gravity speeds.
but we've
Right.
seen that
Everything
actually
in the
happen.
everything in the
There's
scene
footage.
that's floating will react the exact same to whatever's in the vomit comet. Can
We
we
have
just see the
seen them-
video? Let's just see the video of the dropping. We can analyze it.
No, I'm not going to get the videos. You can go to my YouTube. I have like a NASA, like go down a little bit. You'll see like me NASA fakery or whatever. And I go through a lot of the dropping ones, but one of them is they're holding like a inflatable ball and he drops it and then they all get like real nervous about it. And then one of the girls tells him not to pick it up. And the Globers they just make up that he like pushed it down, even though clearly in the footage that didn't happen at all. I didn't push anything down. It slipped out of his hand, but they just claim it because this is the real problem with it, right? Like the excuses you guys come up with, they're like unfalsifiable.
Well, the bigger thing
whatever.
is the fact that you said they looked guilty. That's also unfalsifiable, but you're using that.
That's true. But like this is just my
You
own
guys are like
personal witness
master
test.
of facial interpretations of face
You
footage.
can't
It's
tell
like the
when
fifth
people-
time. It's the fifth time today where you guys have been like, they did this and then they look super scared and they looked at their friend and their friend
Yeah.
was like, don't do anything, don't say it. And then,
No, that's
I
undeniably
think that's just a
what
natural ability most people have.
Well, but people may have it. People may have it to a varying degree. So there's a TV show in like the UK or in Britain that's basically it's called "Why Would I Lie?" or what I think it's "Why Would I Lie to You?" Something like that. Why would I lie to you? I think that's what it is. Why would I lie to you? And basically, there's like a panel of like 10 people up on the stage, and each person is paired up with another person, and the one person tells a story. And the story is either real, like it's true, something that really happened to them, or the story is totally made up and fake. And the other person has to guess. And they do get to ask a few questions, but they have to basically, read their body language, read the story. Does it make sense, etc. And they need to decide, okay, was that a real story? Or is that a fake story? And then obviously they say whether it was real or fake. But when you watch that show, it gives you the opportunity to see how good you are at it because you can watch it. I think the guy Pete Holmes, the comedian, I think it's from the Wikipedia page. It said that he was the one who is behind that show, even though he wasn't like the main host, I don't think. But it's like a different, like a British guy. But anyway, so you can also do this with your friends. Like you can have a real story of your life and a fake one, and then tell the story and see if somebody can. Hold on, Elbow. See if someone can. He was hot micing. You can see if someone can decipher whether you're lying or telling the truth. So, and like I said, if we did that, like, even though you'd have to know whether it was true or a lie, though, to know for sure, like that the person's not lying about that. But I mean, if we were to do that, it'd be interesting to see like who's better at it and who's not as good at it. And I think this was brought up the other day, and someone was admitting, like, yeah, like if generally like people that had a stationary planar Earth viewpoint were better at it, then that would, statistically, then that would show that there's more of a likelihood that they'd be correct about the fake people versus, being tricked by them. So, anyways, yeah, that's something. It's like
this is what I think's funny though, is the fact that everything Witsit is saying about the astronauts is all the same exact stuff that was done to him when he went to Antarctica. Like, exactly. Everybody nitpicked through all of the video footage and everything and said it was fake because he did this and he did that, and that couldn't be real. Look at these artifacts in the video right here in this footage here, and look here at the snow when he's walking around here, and all these things that Witsit you yourself know is they were wrong about. But yet you turn around and do the exact same thing to the
No, it's not the exact same thing just because
it
you
is the
say
exact
it.
same
It's
thing.
No, it's not.
It's never the same thing when Witsit does it, Cole. You should know.
No, this is the problem. This is like just the low hanging fruit of what you people do, and you're gonna always do it, and you're never gonna change, right? But like I have consistently been the guy that goes and looks at the claims of fake space and say, I don't think this is legitimate evidence. I actually think they have an explanation for this. This person's wrong about this. That's the difference. When you go look at the claims of the Antarctica stuff, it's like, oh, you don't see a footprint. You mean like, oh, the way you don't see footprints in the entire marathon, bro? Like, what are you talking about? If you just keep saying it at that point, you're just a liar. Right. So that's the difference. You guys don't have any sufficient evidence like that. You just basically claim that everything that disappears is perfectly expected. And when things fall, they fall. Just trust me, bro. They threw it down. Even though you can't
hold
see
on.
them
I
do
didn't
it.
say perfectly expected. So
You literally said the word perfectly.
I'm sure I said the word perfectly, but I didn't say that in that context. I said it's the best explanation of what we see.
You said it.
Look, I didn't fund Witsit's trip to Antarctica, so I don't have a financial stake in that. I don't have to. He doesn't owe me an audit of his trip to Antarctica. I do, however, have a financial stake in the dollars that go to NASA, and not only that, but our entire society has a stake in it because we build our society around it. So.
Well, technically, only 40% of Americans.
I'm still talking.
Sorry, you had a long pause.
So we're absent any actual evidence, absent any hard evidence, absent, say, the cold storage footage, the simple cold storage footage I brought up earlier. Absent those things, we have nothing to do but to go off of inferences from facial expressions and the way that these astronauts have frowns on their faces when they come back from going to the moon for the very first time. We have nothing but this. So for you to act like that's wrong of us to use those inferences to draw our conclusions is really not logical.
Well, then let me ask you something. Have you watched more than 15 seconds of that interview? Because they didn't have frowns on their faces during that whole interview that you're talking about.
Yeah, I've watched it.
There was one interview, and there was about 30 seconds.
But do you understand the point that I actually made, or are you just going to change the subject?
They all sat around like they were bored, and you're basing it, and you bring that up and act like that's a.
Do you understand the point that I made? Could you state my point back to me, maybe?
Yeah, you're saying because you pay taxes to the government and the government pays NASA that you have a stake in NASA, so that you have a right to nitpick them. You have nothing to do.
Not only that, but they have a duty. They have a duty to show a proper chain of custody on the evidence of completing the tasks which my tax dollars are going forth to. No, they don't. That's the whole point of this conversation.
And you'll not learn that by watching a 15-second clip and thinking you can base the entire thing
when did I say I watched a 15-second clip? What 15-second clip are you referring to? What are you talking about? You're just making things up.
I'm referring to the one to where you're talking about, to where they said in the interview. And
I never said anything about a 15-second clip.
No, but I know
you brought up a 15-second clip.
I know the exact thing you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
All right, then what are you talking about when you said they come back from the moon and look like the?
I'm talking about the interview. It's public footage. You can go find it yourself.
What do you think I'm talking about? And there's only one part of that interview. There's only one specific part, and it's only a minute long at the most, where they look like they're bored sitting there. The rest of it, they're laughing. That's why I asked you, did you watch the whole thing, or did you just watch a 30-second clip?
Why are you trying to litigate a 2-hour-long interview and how long they had frowns on their faces? What's the fruitfulness of this discussion to you?
You made an entirely false claim against something that you know.
No, actually, I was piggybacking off of claims that Witsit already made about other inferences that we have to make based off facial expressions, and also which Gio spent a whole 5 minutes monologuing about. This is actually relevant to the conversation.
Well, then why don't you talk about the other hour and a half of the interview where they act like they were happy? Why didn't you mention that?
Hour and a half. Why are you saying it's an hour and a half long?
It's ever how long it was. It's pretty long.
No, it's not. It wasn't an hour and a half long.
Well, but whatever. It was longer than a minute.
Conference. There's a 10-minute news conference right here, and they look sad the whole time.
I love that we're just
straight
look sad
faces the whole time.
Yeah.
The other thing too, by the way, is 60%.
Okay, I'll just share it.
We've now deflected completely off of what my point was.
They crack jokes and everything during it.
60%.
My whole point was that we're left to infer from these things, and we shouldn't have to be left to infer from these things.
And do you realize that they were in quarantine for 2 straight weeks before they were let out of that quarantine and had that interview?
Oh, so now we're giving a reason why they looked like that. So you've already moved the goalpost, but do you understand his point though, which is that there's an expectation of transparency and a proof of a chain of command. This is the thing, right? We shouldn't have to ever have this conversation. Oh my God, I'm talking. We shouldn't ever have to have this conversation. Stop.
I got interrupted.
You're right. We shouldn't.
I got interrupted 8 times earlier. I'm going to go.
Stop.
It's my turn.
So whenever they get back or the footage gets back, it should immediately be uploaded to an archive. All of the raw footage of anything that's ever been recorded in space, because according to you guys, they would be fully aware that the stuff that we're shown has tons of artifacts and people are disappearing left and right, that we're not seeing the real footage at all. It should be unspoken and expected as a government agency that when they come back with the footage, that it immediately gets uploaded to a publicly accessible archive. We should have all the raw footage. We have none of it. And
Witsit,
they supposedly lost and destroyed the raw footage of the moon landing.
Witsit,
and since then, we've got none of the raw footage.
Did you publish your uncompressed footage?
Yes, actually we did. Yes, as soon as we got back, we uploaded the raw. Yes, we did. As soon as we got back, we uploaded the raw footage of like all the stuff from my GoPros. And then what I did was I live streamed and showed the raw footage, which is like terabytes long. Of course, I'm not the government. Right, I'm not the government. It should be really easy for the government to just upload the stuff, right? My little computer took literally like 2 days to try to upload the full quality, and it kept crashing at like 80%. But I showed the full high definition, like 4K footage. I had all of it. It was like 3 terabytes long, and anyone that wanted to see it, I shared my screen and I showed whatever part of the 24 hours they wanted to see, and the quality was 100 times better. I would go to any point that anyone asked for. There's nothing to hide about it at all. I still have it. But the government doesn't upload any of the raw footage. As soon as we got back, Jaron and I both showed all the GoPro. Everyone that went showed all the raw footage that they had.
So tell me where you think that they destroyed the raw footage when they got back.
They claim that they lost the original footage.
No, they claim that they lost the original telemetry data, but they had copies. Telemetry data is not video footage, Witsit. Thought you would know more than that.
Witsit, did you upload all of your temperature data?
So time out.
Did you upload all temperature data? We want to inspect the clothes that you took to make sure that they were actually winter clothes. Like we deserve all this, right?
Yeah. And your video
is there any limit? Is there any limit to the demands that we can make?
First of all, how do you not understand the difference?
Hold on. Nope. Is there any limit to what we demand? Like our incredulity demands that people give to us.
Okay, so he just explained to you what the obvious difference of that was, right? A private citizen going to Antarctica and being significantly more transparent than the government of the United States, who are claiming to do the biggest feat in the history of mankind for 60
they released way more.
They released way more.
You're all freaking out. It's like it's your religion. It's almost like I'm saying Jesus isn't God or something.
It's just we're trying to go back and forth, and you keep like wanting to go on.
No,
and
you
on.
keep claiming I'm
Just go
talking
back
longer.
and
You're
forth.
talking longer than me every time, though.
No, I promise if you
Yes.
play the video back, I'm not.
I was talking for maybe 12 seconds right then. That's not why you interrupt me. The reason people interrupt me is when I start to make a point that you don't want to hear the conclusion of, and you know I've laid the groundwork for it. If you interrupt it, the point doesn't land. It isn't as strong as long as you cut off the end of it. That's why you all tactically interrupt at the same time every time.
Nope. Good faith is not applying motive to the person across from you.
No, but
and
that
remember,
was
you're the one that said, Witz
that
is
was
the one
your
that said a true intellectual welcomes an interruption if the interruption is to correct.
An interjection in good faith. That's not what you're doing. You're trying to actually take over the point and dismiss what I'm saying.
Right, it's like
what
the
I
no
said was
true good interruption
faith,
Scotsman fallacy.
dude. A good
All right,
faith
but hey,
person.
well, let's get back on track. I just want to mention with NASA. This is NASA. This is supposed to be our shining light of science in America. The open source masters, the reverse engineer, or the engineering masters. You know, they've open sourced a lot of the great work that they've done. They should be also leading the way in transparency, in data sharing, in actually having photos that have proper EXIF data that actually goes back to this with a proper chain of custody and doesn't go back to an Adobe source. That's odd. They should be the light on the hill for these things, for data transparency. This is more money than any other agency you can fathom as far as public dollars for funding software, for funding data gathering, and yet we have no transparency on it. How does that make any sense? How is that even logical for us as a society to accept that?
You know that they do still have all the original negatives from all of the video, the pictures that they took. Yes, they do.
I think that was a
they have all the negatives from all of the snap photos that they took, the actual ones that the snap pictures. When they uploaded them onto the internet, of course they're not going to they're going to trace back to like some internet
Okay,
type thing.
No, that's not how that works. That's actually not how that works.
But
It's
NASA
simple
does
forensics.
have all of the negatives to you.
That's not true. Listen. You stepped in to correct me and said that I'm so surprised you don't know the difference in telemetry data. You don't even know what you're talking about. The original SSTV signal that was supposedly shot and signaled back from the moon camera is gone. That is the official claim. Okay, so the original raw data that supposedly was much sharper format is gone.
No, the telemetry data is what they lost.
You're wrong. You don't even know what you're talking about. They claim that the raw SSTV footage is gone.
Yeah, that was on magnetic tape, and they recorded over it at some point.
Correct.
It wouldn't have been massively sharper, though. But
they do claim it was sharper. It's the actual raw footage. So what they claim is that it had to be like commercially broadcasted, and that's the version that we get. So we do not get the raw footage.
Yeah,
admit you were wrong.
I don't know what to say. We're sorry. We're sorry.
There's nothing to say.
We're sorry that you guys didn't get the exact format, resolution.
No, you mean just the raw stuff. The raw stuff.
The 360 degree.
So you don't wait. So you really don't understand the point I've been making all this time.
I'm waiting to get in when Pinky's done. Hold on, guys.
Let Pinky finish. You were wrong.
He's just demonstrating that he doesn't understand the point.
That was just one camera shot of them climbing down the ladder.
But I'll start.
Hey Cole, can you admit you were wrong?
We are very sorry. I'm just going to keep going because we're sorry you guys didn't get the full resolution, like every telemetry data, get the astronaut boots so that you can inspect them, get that jar.
All right, we get it, man. Full monologue. This is really fruitful. He's not saying anything. He's not actually saying anything. Just no. Why? What's he's not finish? What? He's not making a point.
I need you to just hold on a minute. Just let him finish. I'm gonna go. I have something I want to say, and then you could go. All right,
go ahead. Let's hear more.
He's kind of just trolling and interrupting. Like, I don't know. Was it actually even on him? What was it his point?
Well, honestly, I directly addressed Cole real fast, who had just mocked me for how ignorant I was, and I would like for him to admit that he was unaware of the fact that the original SSTV footage, meaning the raw footage that would be much sharper, is gone. It's gone. We never got it. And they claimed it was incompatible with commercial TV and it had to be converted live. And we never, ever, ever got the raw footage of the moon landing.
Right here it says the original
Cole
raw
answers it.
telemetry tapes, the slow scan television of the Apollo 11 moonwalk. The rest of them they have. Only the Apollo 11, and it says a multi-year search concluded that the specific pristine raw data tapes were accidentally erased and reused in the early 1980s due to a magnetic tape shortage.
Yeah, I want to make a comment.
It was
on that,
only
please.
the Apollo 11.
The moon landing, like we were talking
here's
about.
the thing.
But the rest of them we have.
Okay, so here's the thing. All right, guys. I just want to say that was the greatest feat of humankind that they've ever done in the history of humans, and they just erased the tape. Wow.
You've never worked for a large government bureaucracy, have you?
Dude, they're trying to claim they had a shortage of film, so they
Biggest-
never worked for a
That
large
was
government
actually,
bureaucracy, have you?
I actually have a little experience in this kind of industry, and that was a very common thing for any kind of broadcast guys to do is after the broadcast, you just re-record over the footage. You think that the news just saves everything. They don't.
That's not the same as the biggest
Bro.
feat in the history of mankind.
Yeah,
and according to
Yeah, yeah,
them,
they're recording
according
on
to them,
never
they
worked
kept all
for
the
a
footage
large-
except. Wait, time out. I'm almost done. According to them, they kept all the footage except for the actual moon landing.
Basically, nothing you guys see
have
is
you?
in raw footage. You understand that, right? Like no media you ever see is raw. You understand that, right?
It says NASA preserved the commercial TV broadcast recordings that were converted from the original moon signal. So NASA did preserve the TV broadcast recordings. They just didn't. They just lost the original tape to the.
So did your grandma. So did your grandma.
The
But you
TV
still have 5
broadcast
more.
The TV
I don't
broadcast was garbage. That was recorded off of another TV screen.
Yeah, but
That
SSTV is
footage was
garbage.
trash, bro. You look. I understand tapes get erased and shit, but we're talking about the greatest feat of humankind. We landed on the moon. Holy shit!
Never worked
We
for a
lost
large
the
government
fucking tape.
bureaucracy, have you?
I always
That
wondered
is
how.
not a good argument.
It is it's a great argument because shit like
they
this happens
upgraded-
in large bureaucracies.
They upgraded to better cameras, and we have Apollo 12 and 14, 15, 16, 17. I mean, if they were going to make it, they'd have to lose it for all of them. I mean, I don't know what the argument is.
Dude,
Well,
are
they
you
did
guys
SSTV
this
after 11.
disingenuous?
I think
This
they
is what
upgraded.
I mean by you guys do a huge disservice for your side. If the moon landing was real, you people are the #1 cause of people thinking it was fake.
Oh,
Because when
shut
they
up,
go
Witsit.
try to
You've never
hear,
worked for a
when they
large
go
government
try to hear,
bureaucracy.
shut up. We don't need your personal opinion and color commentary in the middle of me
said you-
talking. Whenever you
Well,
guys,
just Witsit,
when
help me
people,
understand the conspiracy. Help me understand the
oh
conspiracy.
my God, you guys can't do it. When people like are intellectually honest, what they do is they want to go hear the strongest argument of both sides. When they go hear that this is the strongest argument, this is blatantly bad faith. You're saying that everything except for the moon landing wasn't recorded over. It's totally normal and reasonable. News stations do it all the time as if that's some type of legitimate equivocation to the biggest feat in history of mankind. And originally you denied that it was even like actually lost, right? And in fact mocked us for saying it. Then we had to correct you and teach you about what you're claiming to teach us is true. And then once that happened, you all universally started making excuses for why it was done. And this is a sharper footage. So this always goes back to what Toby said. This is a claim that like something like 40 to 50% of Americans were skeptical of at the time that it happened. Okay. The chain of command, it isn't because we want to see a slightly sharper footage. It's the proving of the authenticity of the claim. Do you understand?
Because-
That's the whole point.
So because you have about 100,000 miles or more of tape, magnetic tape, it was an enormous undertaking that went on for several years, and because somebody accidentally taped over it 30 years later, because he said it didn't happen until the 1980s during a tape shortage, because it happened. You're saying it's all fake, even though we have all the rest of it and everything else. Nope, we got one set got recorded over. It's got to be fake, guys.
No,
Wrap it up.
You just said it. You just said it was hundreds of thousands of miles of tape, and you also
there's
just
a
used
shitload of magnetic footage.
and so you said it was miles upon miles upon miles, and then you just said it was accidentally taped over. You think you can accidentally tape
all of
over
it,
that
dude.
much?
Obviously, use that nugget between your ears. I didn't mean every second of everything that they recorded. I mean, in total, everything they recorded was a mountain of magnetic tape,
That makes
because
your
a
point
little
weaker.
tiny piece
Accidentally
of
taped
that
over.
because of a little tiny piece of that mountain accidentally got recorded over does not mean that they faked anything,
Dude, this
because
makes your point
we still
weaker.
have the rest of it.
Cole, listen, this makes your point
My
weaker.
name's not
You're claiming
Coco.
that there is a ton of footage and only a little bit of it got recorded over
Yeah,
30
3.5 hours
years
worth.
later.
Witsit.
And the one little part that got recorded over was coincidentally the part that everyone was skeptical of and the actual big feat of landing on the moon.
How many
Coincidentally,
times do you
out
think
of
we
the
landed on the
miles
moon,
long,
Witsit?
time out. Coincidentally, out of the miles long of footage, they only recorded over the moon landing.
How many times
But
do you
here,
think we landed on the moon, Witsit? Just once? Is that what you think?
This says right here that 45. I just looked this up. At least what this AI Gemini says. 45 reels of original Apollo 11 telemetry tapes, which equates to about 11 hours of missing footage, and it says it's about 1.7 miles worth of footage. And
telemetry isn't footage. So it's just data.
Well, it's telemetry data. Yeah, I mean,
the
using
slow
the word.
scan part, though, I mean, you understand that was converted in real time from the broadcast to NTSC and recorded by broadcast studios around the world, right? So that part of it is preserved. It's just
That they
the
still
slow scan
have.
format that they use, and I believe that format only was done on Apollo 11, right? I
Yeah.
think they went to a newer camera in subsequent missions, but
And it was still going to be half the resolution of NTSC television.
Yeah, it was like
And 15 frames per second.
320i. Yeah.
It says it contained raw, uncompressed, slow scan video of the first moonwalk.
Yeah, that's what I don't get is apparently these telemetry tapes also had video on them. I've never heard of that.
SSTV is literally an audio signal. That's why it's on magnetic tape. Like there weren't VHS cassettes back then. It's a way to encode pictures, and in this case, whatever 15 frames a second of half or a quarter of NTSC resolution. That's why it was incompatible. It had to be played on a specialized oscilloscope, which is why they had to do that setup with TV cameras pointed at a machine that turned the audio into the visuals.
This is the part, right? Like, obviously, you could film if you were gonna fake the moon landing in a studio. You could film it on whatever you wanted to, and you could have the footage. So the part that actually makes it sketchy is that there's just this one little portion that's pulled out, which was like the first one, right? Before they had longer to try to perfect any discrepancies that happened or whatever. And that is sketchy, dude, because it's like, wait, what? Like, you guys can't actually entertain the alternative position that, like, if they fake something but they noticed that there would be some type of discrepancies with their official story and the raw footage, that they would just get rid of it, right? Like,
but they have it
you
in
can't.
NTSC. Witsit? What are you saying that somehow somehow the NTSC version of it doesn't contain the mistakes, but the slow scan version that's at that 10 frames per second, 320 lines does contain it, but the NTSC version that they didn't doesn't? I mean, I don't understand.
It's such a weird
Yeah,
objection.
maybe. What, like, yeah, you would see more in the original raw footage, would you not?
No.
How
because
much more? I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know.
you
Somebody that
would.
knows. How
Yes,
much
you
more
would.
is it? How much more? How much more would we see?
It's
It doesn't
also a matter
matter.
of chain of custody. It's also a matter of chain of custody because they may have chain of custody on that specific tape, and then the tape that we have chain of custody on conveniently is missing the part that we want the chain of custody of. So you can source that from elsewhere. You can source that from elsewhere, and it's not from the original tape that we have chain of custody on. So we have no chain of custody on it. We don't know the source.
Yeah,
You might get slightly better contrast if you had the original. And
No, we don't know the source of the original. That's the point.
It was aired in real time.
It could be completely different footage. Listen, it could be completely different footage. There's no chain of custody. There's no reason for us to believe that it couldn't be completely different footage. That's the point of chain of custody.
This isn't something they brought back from the moon. The original recordings were recorded on the ground from the transmission sent
it was
in real time.
Okay, and that's what we have chain of custody on.
Well, how do you
but it was
chain of
broadcast
custody
in real time. Like that, we have
well, that's
the
what you
broadcast
right, and we don't know the source from which it was broadcast from. That's my point.
So, but
This is what it says on the Wikipedia page. It says,
that
although
measure you wouldn't have to on either.
Hold on a sec. It says, although the researchers never found the telemetry tapes, they did discover the best visual quality NTSC videotapes as well as Super 8 movie film taken of a video monitor in Australia showing the SSTV transmission before it was converted. So, and it says these visual elements were processed in 2009 as part of the NASA-approved restoration project of the first moonwalk. So they had to go to this Australian feed to try to get the best copy of what they
that 8mm film would be the best copy. That would be superior to the magnetic tape because the audio resolution on that magnetic tape at the time was not up to the same standards that their 8mm motion picture film was.
I would imagine that was from at one of the 3 giant telescope dishes that they used around the planet to the one in Australia.
But I can't even fathom defending the moon landing. Like in my own, it's unfathomable that anybody would actually not like. It's one thing to like be in question of it, but oh man, I'm just saying. I'm just saying for myself. I could never imagine like just trying to take like hear your guys' position as like that this is legit. Like just the whole thing, the whole situation.
I say it all the time. The more books I read about it, the more that I've watched about it, the museums I've been to, the more I continue to learn about it over the years, the harder it keeps becoming for me to believe that it was faked.
Yeah, I'd say the same.
Well, other people seeing the Swiss cheese of everything, all the holes in it. So I guess in that scenario, then someone's very right and someone's very wrong.
I think if all you research is holes, like if your whole research path is just, I'm just going to find the holes in it, then it makes sense that you'd end up in a place where you couldn't imagine supporting it.
Who did that? I didn't do that. When I first looked
I'm not
at the moon
accusing
landing,
you. I'm saying if that's your approach, if you focus more on finding the holes, that's what you're going to find.
okay. Well, you finish it saying that you would think it's unfathomable as that you're framing it as if I did that because that wasn't what I did at all. In terms of my like analysis of it. So if you're just saying that randomly, you like linked it to the word I said, unfathomable. Because I'm just trying to think right now, like of trying to be on the side of, like I'm trying to think of being on the side of defending it. And it just popped in my mind, like it's just unfathomable. Like it's like literally like cheese that has like 1 million holes in it, and then the idea that would be a solid.
But just to be clear, I'm just trying to understand this because he's saying if you want to find a hole in it, you can. Well, if you can, that means there's holes in it, right? Because no matter how much you want to find a hole, if there's no holes, then you don't find any, right?
Well, it's like, okay, for something that Geo, like I'm not picking on you with this, Geo, but like somebody says, oh, I did tons of research into ayahuasca and I found out how dangerous and like you shouldn't do it and it's, demonic or whatever. And then you just realize all they did is just go to like read on websites that like trash on it, but in their mind, they're like, oh, I really looked into it deeply. I read a whole bunch of stuff, maybe they read one website that was for it or whatever. It's like if
30-second clips.
Yeah. You're talking about, I mean, the point you're making is not necessarily faulty. Like you're talking about basically biased research or not like very widely covered. Like if you're going to look into a topic like, obviously try to see everything you can. Because I mean, yeah, if you're talking about like a biased research and then only watching certain content or something and then making some kind of like brash conclusion, I'm just saying like that wasn't the case for me at all. So I don't know what you're characterizing unless you're just saying if someone out there did that. Because for me, when I first looked into the moon landing, I generally thought it was true. Like I when I first looked into it, I generally accepted it probably was true. Like I didn't really think they were faking at that point. Like, I mean, I had like heard that people had said that, but I had just never really looked into it. And this was in like 2004, 2005. And my brother actually mentioned it to me. And that was the first time I actually did like a deep dive. And dude, at the beginning, it was not a clear and a shut, like a shut and closed case for me at the beginning. Like I spent like a few hours every day for like a few months, like extra time I had. And I was just looking into every single thing I could. I was looking at everything that said it was real and legit, all the websites, the documentaries, all the ones that said it was legit. I looked at everything that said it was fake and all the documentaries and everything saying it wasn't legit. And even through it, it wasn't really clear right at the beginning either. Like I had to dig pretty deep and look at every single thing I could. However, coming out of that, yeah, like the conclusion that it is not genuine is very, very strong. Obviously, I don't have 100% proof of what they did, but
can I ask a question?
And then over the years, it's only gotten more and more like clear that this was a deception.
I'd like to ask you a question about that as well.
Could I ask a question? Do you know how they? The question was asked: how did they film the Apollo lander taking off from the moon's surface? Does anyone know how they? Does anyone have a question about that? I know that flat earther or doubter. No, someone who's a doubter, like Gio or someone.
Yeah, I'm aware of what they claim.
Okay, is that an unreasonable claim? Do you think that's not possible? It couldn't have been done that way?
It's not an argument I'm making at the moment.
No, but that's one of the objections. I'm just citing one objection that I'm aware of, the one I could remember just right off the cuff right now. So is it that impossible for them to do?
To leave a camera on the ground that has a remote
That's simple tilt up and down, remotely operated, triggered.
It's not impossible, but that's not an argument I'm making.
No, I didn't say it was. I'm just saying there's.
I mean, it's impossible to go land on. It could be impossible to land on the moon, but could you put a camera on the ground on Earth and do that? Yeah, the technology exists that you could make a camera pan up like that.
But my question then is: do you think this technology exists to land on the moon?
Well, it's kind of a non-applicable question. It's like a loaded question. And it's like is it possible to is it possible to fly? Is it possible to fly in a drone in Lord of the Rings? Sort of like. I haven't seen any evidence. I've never seen any valid evidence that the moon is a physical world that you could go and live on and build entire worlds on, like the way that they claim it is. What they say, it's like a quarter of the diameter of the Earth, the ball Earth. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any valid evidence that it's a place, especially 250,000 miles away, that humans can go like live on. So I mean, to say like, is it possible to do it or not, is sort of a non-applicable question because it's based on an assumption that that's even a possible thing in the first place.
Well, I'm not going to accuse you of circular reasoning. However, I'm not going to accuse you of circular reasoning. But the reason that it's not possible is what? What is the reason it's not possible to be solid?
Well, that's not an argument I'm making.
It cannot be solid, is what you're saying. Is that what you're saying? It cannot be solid.
That's not what I said either. I said I have not seen evidence that it is a physical world with dust and rocks and a place where there's some kind of 1/6 gravity, et cetera, or that it even is like a physical place in this world that you can actually travel to. Because all the evidence we're given is extremely problematic for it being some kind of legit journey.
But I mean, you look at it up close with a telescope, right? And it very much looks like a physical place. You can see the mountains and the valleys, and you can see the differences in the terrain. You can see the shadows move across the crater rims over the course, right? Like all this stuff that really makes it look consistent with everything that we see in our reality. The only difference being that, okay, yeah, it's up over your shoulders. It just is very arbitrary to suddenly say that this thing that very much behaves like physical objects that we know of, like, like craters and valleys and how sun moves across them and shadows and all that, to then say, I think that this thing is some other thing, that this isn't like that nature is suddenly not uniform in that location.
I'm wondering.
That's quite the statement, I think.
My largest question of the whole thing was the reason why we were like allegedly, what was it called? Space race?
Oh,
what was that about? Why were we? Yeah, what?
The Cold War.
Why?
The space race was because Russia put the first satellite in orbit, and that scared a lot of people.
And the first man in space, and the first man at altitude as well.
The first animal in space, first man in space, the first man in orbit, the first satellite. There was a lot of things they were beating us, and don't forget they were it was a communist country at that point, and they were viewed as the enemy because, for all intents and purposes, they were. And so that's what led to the space race. So they said one thing we're not going to be second on is getting to the moon. So that's what they just decided on.
I think there's an underlying current. I mean, the rhetoric was that they were petrified of ICBMs and rocket technologies because we were going into an era when if you can fire a.
Well, I know the public was. I mean, I was taught how to kiss my ass goodbye.
I know. I'm talking
about the drills.
I'm talking about the superpowers and the military that were worried that if you could deploy a weapon, a potent weapon
intercontinentally.
Yes, ICBM.
Yep.
Yeah. So ICBM and ICBMs by definition go at altitudes which effectively characterize them as propellant rockets, don't they? They have to go high enough. Well, they do go high enough.
Oh yeah, I'm very familiar with that. My question was, why was the moon the focus? I mean, that one just threw me off. That's all. I understand space supremacy and all that. Military. I'm not sick.
I think there's been, like you say, the narrative is that the Russian, like it's stated, the Russians made all the technological advances before America did at the time. The animals in space, the people in space, the satellites. So they were seen to have. It's a bit like any other tech bubble, like everyone's going absolutely berserk with AI right now and spending exorbitant amounts of money that don't. But take them beyond. Right, go on.
But you're right. Yes, I'm agreeing with you so far. So you're saying it's basically a pissing contest.
Well, basically, yeah. The Apollo. It was a gigantic chest beating exercise.
I mean, that's what it's sold to people as. I mean, all the media propaganda.
It wasn't at the time. It was. I mean, at the time, it was. Don't forget, it was sold at a time when America was looking for an egalitarian, future and moving and trying to just disjoint itself from the Cold War and its opposing superpower. It was painting, after all the McCarthyism and after all that, you were literally painting the Russians as the political, cultural, and ideological antichrist. So it was far. People underestimate how substantive those feelings were at the time. They were significant. They were impactful.
Oh yeah, propaganda was rich as well. All the individuals, as far as civilians, because we were locked to our newspapers, radios, and fortunate ones had televisions.
Sure. And
America
got wind that the Russians were planning to put a man on the moon, and set about making sure they got there first.
It's just a large engineering problem. That's all it is. You guys make it sound like it's impossible. It's not. It's just a big engineering problem.
It's a glorified pissing contest. Who can get there first? Okay.
Yes.
I'm just trying to get that straight in my head.
In the end, that is accurate. Yes.
That's what they claim. Whether it's accurate or not, that was in the media. I mean, that entire sentiment you're sharing is something that was just given to people through television. So, I mean, the veracity of that is highly questionable. But that is the story they told. Just like during COVID, they told us all the story. During all these things, there's some kind of a media event, some kind of story involved with what actually is occurring. By the way, I wanted to respond real quick to what Jake said before. Yeah, I mean, Jake, I would agree that just being in terms of the way that the moon looks, it does look a bit optically, that's the only evidence that it, that is valid that I've ever seen. Just the way that it looks a little bit almost like a volcanic kind of surface. And there's other things on Earth that do seem to look a bit like the sun looks. The way that the illumination occurs, I don't think it really matches exactly what shadows on Earth with the sun do, but it does look to be like there's a positioning and a shifting of what are called the shadows. I have some thoughts as to what that is, but so yeah, when you came back with that point, I'm not denying any of that. What I was saying is that I've never seen valid evidence that it's actually a physical world that humans can go and actually live on and exist on. Because really the only footage of that are these few moon landings in the late 60s, early 70s with Nixon and all the corruption and stuff that was going on at that time. I mean, there was crazy stuff in the world, like the end of that Vietnam War and everything that was going on. So, I mean, that's really the only footage we have, hence this moon landing topic, that it is an actual physical place. So when someone says, is it possible? And it's well, that's what we have to go off. because land in the sky is a big claim. You know, land on the ground is different. Like I've never been to China, but I've seen a lot of footage from it. I don't really question that China's there. That's on the ground. There's nothing abnormal about that. But some huge world in the sky, and then this moon, this little luminary body that we see, you know, that is a physical world. That's what I'm saying. I've never seen valid evidence for. And like, yeah, and when I went into looking into this, I didn't go into it with a bias. It was the evidence to me and the whole looking at everything involved. So that's why I was saying it's just surprising to me that, like, I guess everyone's maybe done different research though. Like maybe some people have only done the research to say how it's real, and just like Pinky said earlier, maybe they've done the opposite. Like they haven't actually looked into the opposing view to really look at both sides evenly. But
I mean, if it looked like electric bolts shooting out from a center or something, if it looked something like that, I could understand you saying, I don't know, I don't think it would be physical. But you know, you believe in a creator, Gio. What creator would make a world that that has craters and features and darker areas and lighter areas and scars and the striations, you know, that are radiating out from obvious meteor impacts with like lifted up edges, and then when the light hits it, it casts a shadow in there. Like, why would our creator make a world that very much looks and behaves like the physical object that we're claiming that it is, but at the same time, you know, it doesn't look like some kind of a non-physical thing. Like if it looked like, and maybe more like the sun, right, which is like a ball of plasma, you could argue that, well, I don't think you can, a ball of plasma is a physical object or whatever, but the moon doesn't look that way. The moon very much looks like a physical object. That's where you're losing me, because it takes quite a jump to just deny your senses, right? Even if it's only your visual sense, it's still quite, you know, it's quite the jump.
well, there's a few questions there. Why would a creative intelligence create the moon to not be a physical world but look like that? Well, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, I like the idea that it's like a celestial crystal. So it does seem to have crystalline kind of like facets to it, like the way it has those like almost like those breaks through the middle, like those fissures that appear. Like crystals have that as well. It looks much more like a crystal to me than a rock. And if it is a celestial crystal, like a celestial luminary, that would be, I could see why a creative intelligence would create that. It's like a brilliant thing to see. It's beautiful. It reminds us a bit of what the Earth looks like in some ways, like in terms of the kind of volcanic. There's also like even the idea that it's like an old burnt out sun or something. That's kind of a fun idea. But yeah, I don't have any conflict with that, with why a creator would create a luminous, you know, whether it's like superfluid, plasma, whatever it is, something that we can't access. Like it's part of the celestial field. It's part of the mysteries of being human and this whole world, that we can't go to those stars and get a sample and touch them. Like we're only left to see them from the ground. So to me, that would make complete sense, that you would make a world that has this like incredibly beautiful sky and that we can't necessarily go and touch it because it's beyond our human, you know, our like corporeal, physical, mortal human bodies, is to like look at the sky with wonder. But these sort of Nazi NASA guys who all came out after World War II, they're trying to claim that this is a whole place that they can go conquer and that they can go land their crafts on and tell people all these stories about, you know, Russia and different wars. And so that's the thing. It just depends on whether you're going to trust them and whether you think they're actually telling the truth or not.
As time has progressed, other groups have put things on the moon.
Well, let's not forget. I mean, you're also going to out of hand dismiss nearly a decade of various things being, by both the Russians and the Americans, smashed in and photographed in the surface of the moon before Apollo. And all the countless times that it's been done afterwards. I mean, all of this. It's not just, you can't just say, "Well, this is just an American deception." It would have to be a deception of two superpowers, in every other sense, completely adversarial in the world at the time.
But I don't think they are adversarial. And after World War II, I think there was a sort of new world order of sorts to where all the major countries. So yeah, I know that's getting into a realm that might either be speculative or unable to like absolutely prove. But I don't think the countries are all against each other the way they tell us they are. And yeah, so and for them to lie about the globe, like for the Earth not to be a globe, that like, would you agree there would have to be some organized group? You know, just to put it simply, whether you use the word cabal or secret societies or Freemasonic family lines, or, you know, whether you go to the full like Nephilim or you go reptilian, whatever ideas that people may say. But even if we just go a group of humans, there would have to be, you would agree, right?
It would have to be impossible.
They'd have to be. They'd have to.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Like all the other things, like whether there's the vaccines cause autism or whether the media are lies or all these other things, you don't necessarily have to have there be necessarily a kind of an organized cabal type group or some kind of group. But would you agree that just the one thing of the Earth not being a globe implies that there absolutely would have to be? And then if there are, then yeah, they would have controlling factions in these countries, especially after World War II. The whole genocide of that.
There would definitely have to be a mechanic of deception. The question is the scale of that mechanic tenable?
I think it gets complicated because people can lie to themselves too.
Launching rockets. That's one thing you'd do. If I was doing that, I'd stop people from launching rockets.
Toby, you're saying that those entities could lie to themselves, or you're saying that other people?
Yeah, I think what you're saying makes sense and is probable, but like given that's the case, but I also think that it's possible that people can kind of just put blinders on and seek, to enrich their own egos and enrich their own livelihoods. And so they will convince themselves of things, and then they will, justify any means to make certain things happen because it fits within their framework. And so it's not like a conscious cabal, but it's a cabal of people that are all like kind of knowingly, somewhat subconsciously lying to themselves to orchestrate something, but maybe they're not, directly all above table about it. They don't. It's all subconscious to an extent, spiritual almost.
Well, yeah, there might be different layers of that group, but I mean, to have like all the militaries be coordinated, the GPS system, for the Earth not to be a globe, for it to be an actual stationary plane with whatever the ceiling is, but that we're on a plane of existence and whatever happens when you go up, but that you don't go to outer space with a bunch of balls. For all that to be the case, like, wouldn't there have to be a lot of entities that are completely in on it? Like it's like they're running a corporation of sorts, like they're running a whole operation. And so like if India says they're going to go land on the moon, then they're not going to overlap with the United States claiming that they're going to land something there. Like that they have to organize all that and be.
I don't know. I don't think there's that many people that actually have to orchestrate a lie on that. Like you have maybe a few people and the people that actually could be orchestrating the lie, quote unquote, could like just think that that's just the way this is, and one day we'll actually go to space. And until then, we're going to dump these rockets over in the sea or whatever. And so they don't necessarily realize how big of a lie that they're facilitating, but they're just doing it subconsciously. And everyone from that person down is just following, they're within their own silo of information. They're given their data, they do their work, they have their inputs and their outputs, and they don't all necessarily know what each other are doing.
Yeah, the compartmentalization for sure. Like there's even some theories that if these entities are non-human, then they have like some like hybrids that are like whatever their species they are mixed with humans. And then if it goes down the whole line at some point, and maybe with bloodline manipulations and various like there's just different theories as to like what the amount of compartmentalization and who's in the know of what for some for something like this to be pulled off. Because you do have like all the major countries of the world and the big banking systems, and there's quite a bit of coordination, with the space agencies, the GPS, the militaries. But yeah, I hear you though. There could be potentially just in a speculative framework, there could be different layers and levels of what people know.
Well, especially when you realize that, like, when theoretical physics starts to become illogical and people just go along with it and keep all doing the math, like they're not detached. They're not attached to any concrete reality, even within the math that they're doing. So it's very easy to make everything siloed and not actually know what's happening up in the sky.
I just noticed something. As we're talking here, I just noticed that for the distant stars, we can't go there. And so they make a bunch of guesswork about how far the things are and all of this and that. But they tell us we can't go there, it's too far. But then we have a second set of bodies that aren't too far to get there, and they say we can get there, and we have been going to get. They say that we have been going, and we've been landing on these things, or sending probes to these things, or orbiters around these things. So there are two sets of things going on there. There's one that we can't reach, and one that we can reach. And the moon is in the category of can reach. Mars is in the category, and Venus is in the category. The sun is in that category. So I'm trying to figure out just now, as I've just noticed it. I'm just trying to figure out why there'd be two completely different categories of objects in the sky, one of which we can't reach and one of which we can reach. Surely, I would think that the idea would be to make them all out of reach, not some of them out of reach.
In the same way as heaven is, for example. No, you can't Tower of Babylon your way to the moon.
No.
That kind of.
Yeah, but the model they purport of a globe Earth that's a third rock from a sun with a 93 million mile away sun. I mean, however you think we got here, like the history we're told, but the whole situation, we're being told a very particular type of model. And in that model, the way they convert the kinematics in the sky, they have to have the moon be, a body orbiting the sphere, and then Venus and Mercury, etc. So in their model, it would make enough sense that they would try to have some kind of contact with something like the moon to kind of bolster that distance. I claim distance idea, and then have the really far away stuff be, the dark matter, the stars.
The point you're making is wouldn't it be easier for them? Is just sorry, just what I'm thinking of. Wouldn't it be just easier to have the, you say the rhetoric? If you got to a certain height and there is just an insurmountable amount of deadly radiation which nothing can permeate, and there's definitely no way that can happen, and just leave it there. Why would they have to go through all the contortion?
Yeah, particularly as they say that the distant stars, we can't go there. There's no way to get there. We can't build anything that will get there. But then they say, well, we have built something to go to this one place that you can see, and it's just right there because it's big.
Yeah, they're claiming to go. They're claiming. By the way, I switched to my phone. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. But I mean, they're claiming to go to Mars and the Moon, I guess. So, I mean, those are the two, and then whatever's going to happen with the next Mars. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it makes complete sense. Like, as a larger deception, that you would have a way to kind of support the idea that it is quote unquote real. And a moon landing, I imagine they were waiting to do that until they had control after World War II. They had the control they needed to pull that off. Because if they want to try to really seed it deeply in people's minds that there is a sort of universe out there of spheres and open space and zero gravity and all of that, that they would use that as part of the way to bolster it and make it seem more real. If they just said, oh, there's a Van Allen radiation belt and we can't get through it, it seems like people would be more skeptical. Like, wait a minute, you're telling us this is all this model that's totally different from what we experience and what all of humanity had before this. And you're telling us you just can't even get there, but you just it would seem too much like a story, it seems like. Whereas if they at least have footage, men on the moon, they really try to solidify it. And it wasn't really until that moon landing that they really solidified in a lot of people's minds the idea that they really are on a ball. I mean, I know that can be debated, but
that's not
I don't believe I don't believe in 1909 that everybody at that time, I know the globe was, I'm not saying there was no globe ideas or history, but that everybody really had it seated in their mindset, oh yeah, I'm really on a ball, and men went to the moon. That was all solidified in that
Universal
late 60s.
Universal Studios logo. It's a globe.
No, they claim it was a sphere, I know, but how detached were people from it is what I'm saying.
Not
in their
at all.
In their belief of it, of actually being a ball that's water stuck to it when they'd never seen it. It was just an idea that, the scientists tell us that, or the learned ones say that that's what it is. To most people, they wouldn't have had that seated in their mind as an actual as grounded of an actual belief or thought about what's going on.
Nothing's changed. They don't take nothing in our narrative now is detached from, as you say, quote, the learned ones. It's still within the domain of the learned ones. No ordinary man can go to these places. So nothing's changed in that context, is it?
But the learned, I guess the alleged learned ones went and claimed they bounced around on the moon kind of thing, and they claim they put rovers on Mars. So I guess it's more of there's footage that didn't exist back then. Back then, it was all just artist renditions.
Can I ask a question of anyone? Is it true now, do you think, that we are closer to the people who have a lot of knowledge now than, say, in the past? Or is it about the same? Because they really didn't know much. So, say, 100 years ago, they didn't know anything about rocketry.
Ask that question. Because the stuff that was passed down to me, knowledge of Sirius, when I lived on Shusha Reservation, I didn't recognize it, but it was documented. Both them and Dogon tribes had knowledge of Sirius in situ, and from perspective even. And then later on, once we had telescopy, developed where we could actually observe it, and then came back and asked them again. That doesn't fit the framework either.
I don't understand what you're saying. Actually, I don't understand what you're playing there. Sorry, I'm missing something.
Yeah, we're talking about the old people, right? The ancient
people. No.
Yeah,
people with knowledge. The people with knowledge. So the people in, say, let's say the doctors, or whatever, scientists, astronomers. The astronomers 100 years ago, how were they closer to the regular people, or the people who know a lot of stuff now further away from us because it's all very, very specialized? Or can we learn a lot more ourselves and get closer to what they understand now, better than they did they were able to in the past because they didn't have the internet in the past? I'm referring to just in one aspect, say photography. 20 years ago, anything I said about photography, just people would nod and go, "Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that." But now I could talk about, depth of field and all sorts of different things, and people say, "Oh, yeah, I know what depth of field is." It's been democratized. The knowledge has been democratized, and I was just wondering if it's more difficult to pull off something that just claim is not possible to do, when we have the knowledge and the ability to gain the knowledge to find out that it is possible to do. Like, for example, get out of low orbit and go to the moon. I'm wondering if
Dude, this is what you need to accept, okay? I don't know why you're having a hard time with this. They have you by the balls if you believe this. They literally, when they're, forget 1969, there was no technology, blah, 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 right? The one they give you.